What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. This is Jason, and we're dropping a big one today. We have a almost 4-hour course dropping. This is part of the UIKit course that I dropped not too long ago. In the course, we cover programmatic UI. All of it's programmatic, to be honest. We built it using Firebase as our backend. We're using storage. We're using the database, the user authentication. We're setting up the sign up, sign in flow. And we're launching this as a test flight to send it out to beta testers. And you could actually upload this to the App Store and get this on your portfolio and show it off to job applications while you're applying. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this this banger of a video. Let me know if you guys run into any issues in the comments. And definitely check out the full course. It's on the link will be in the description. It's on my Teachable. And we actually have a sale going on until like July 5th or something like that. The first week of July, basically. There'll be a sale going on, so check that out and don't miss out. Especially if you enjoy this, then the rest of the course you'll enjoy as well. All right, let's get started with the project. So we're gonna open up Xcode. We create a new project app, and we're gonna call this Explore. We're using storyboard, Swift. We'll use core data. And all right, hit next. All right, so the first thing we want to do is get rid of storyboards. So let's move this to trash. Then we need to go here. Look, search for main. Ooh. Search for main in here. There we go. All right. I just selected that and hit it. I hit delete or backspace, depending on delete actually, because you only use. Xcode is only available on Mac. Alright, you search for main again, and then we got rid of all the mains. Do view.background color equal, let's do system blue. And we need to go to the scene delegate and set this up here. So we're gonna call this a window scene. And then we let window equal is it UI window? Window scene, okay. Window make key invisible. Window root view controller. Set equal to view controller and self.window equals window. All right, we do Command R and this should run in our simulator and show us just a blue screen. The first time you build the app on the simulator, it takes a while, so we'll wait here. There we go. We got this working. So now we're gonna bring in our CocoaPods into our project. So we're gonna open up our terminal, and what I like to do is we're gonna right click here on this folder, show in Finder. And I'm gonna CD into this, but then I want to actually CD one back. And that puts us in our main project folder. And in here you want to do pod init. What pod init does, it initializes CocoaPods in our project. And you'll see this pod file here, which we can open pod file. And we're gonna uncomment this line, and we're gonna support up to iOS 14. And that just reminded me, I think we have to go. We gotta go to our general minimal deployment. Do 14.0. If you search up CocoaPods on Google, this cocoapods.org, it's a pretty cool website where you can find all the CocoaPods that are available. And one of the CocoaPods we're gonna be using is SD Web Image, which is a great tool to cache and store images in your on your iOS application. You could implement it yourself, like the caching, but the SD Web Image makes it a lot easier. All right, so we just need to copy this one. You can do Command S, or you could just close. You could just close it and it'll save. And then we need to open up terminal again. And we're gonna run pod install. And this is installs the SD web image into our application. So when working with CocoaPods, once you install them, you need to switch over to the XCS workspace. Otherwise, your project's not going to work. Looks like there was a little glitch there. If you run into any issues, just close it and open again. That's always a great thing to try, right? Just restarting it. All right, now we have CocoaPods in here, and if we do import SD web image, yep, we can import it. All right, and that's it for this video. So we went through and set up our project without storyboards, and we set up our CocoaPods, and we brought in the SD web image dependency, and we're gonna bring in some more CocoaPods here shortly. For the Google ones, I wanna go through and get set up with Firebase first before doing that. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. All right, let's get set up with Firebase. So we're just gonna go to firebase.google.com, go to console, create a new project, call this Explore, enable Google Analytics. We'll enable it in case you guys want to use it in the future. Hit create project. All right, so now our project is ready, and we want to go to Apple. Okay, and get this set up with our bundle ID. You're gonna go here to our project. All right, so we go to sign in and capabilities. Make sure you're on targets, sign in capabilities. Copy this, paste it here. You can have an optional name for the app. This is if you put it in the App Store. We're gonna hit continue, and then we gotta download a plist. So we're gonna download this plist, and I like to just, I guess never mind. I like to just grab this here and then drag it into our project. Make sure you drag it into this Explore one. Otherwise, you might get some issues in the future. And I already see a potential issue. When you're working with the plist from Google /Firebase, you want to make sure there is anything after this. So this one here will cause an error, and it won't run. So that means we have to, let me move this to trash. Oh, I gotta download it again. All right, so I'm gonna download it again. Place it here. Copy items if needed. Let's check that. There we go. I checked on copy items if needed, and that it was just pointing to the file that I had in the downloads location. But when I hit copy if needed, then it created a copy, and then I was able to freely change this. All right, so then we hit next. And this is how you add the Firebase SDK. What do we need? We need to go to CocoaPods. Pod init, we already did that. And then we just have to bring in all the ones that we want. So where can we view all the, all right, here we go. So I think it's this one, yeah. So we want to bring in Firebase Auth. So go in here. Let's put this side by side. All right, and we're basically just going shopping for CocoaPods. I believe we're gonna use Firebase Firestore. Firebase Storage. We're just gonna bring these in for now. Oh, and I think we need to bring in analytics because we asked for that at the beginning. All right, so let's hit next. And actually we need to do something. So I'm gonna close this. I hit Command S to make sure it's saved. Go back to our terminal, and we need to do pod install again.
Analyzing dependencies. And this is going to download all these ones that we added here. All right, this is going through. So you have any issues, you have the Discord, you also have the comment section. And also, of course, Google. Google is a great resource when you run into issues. Like, for example, working with pods, I found that on the M1 Mac, sometimes you run into weird issues when you're working with CocoaPods. And yeah, it might be different if like you have an M1 Mac or an Intel Mac. It's just small things like that can really cause random errors. So if you do run into one, you have the comment section, you have the Discord, and you have Google, of course. So just reach out to one of those. I'll be checking it pretty often to make sure there isn't anything. Sorry about that. So our CocoaPods just finished installing. Let's try import Firebase. There we go. All this stuff is showing up. So looks like we're good to go. All right, and now we just want to go to our app delegates, import Firebase core, and in this did finish launching, we can comment this out, and I'm going to copy this, put this in here, hit, actually wait, Swift, whoa. I was looking at Swift UI, that's why it looks so different. All right, but basically, yeah, it's the same. So it's Firebase core, Firebase configure, we did that. Next, continue to console. And what I'm gonna do for now, we're gonna put Firebase aside. Let's try to run this. This should be able to run without any errors. And it's gonna take a second too, since we just brought in all those CocoaPods. It's gonna take a second. We're gonna run this and see what happens. All right, so our build just succeeded. Simulator's running up. And if this runs smoothly without any issues, like it doesn't just crash, then we should be good to go. All right, there we go. And looks like our Firebase is working. Yeah, like it says Firebase analytics collection enabled. Something with analytics. I think there's a little small thing. That's what that event is. So we're good to go. I'm ready. You guys ready to start coding? Like, let's start actually building something that we can see, right? So that's what we're gonna do in the next video. I'll see y'all there. Peace. All right, y'all, let's actually get into some coding. You know, we just went through the whole project setup. It can be a little tedious sometimes, but now we're gonna actually get into some code and we're gonna have some fun building this out. So let's get into it. So the first thing I wanna note is we're here in the scene delegate, and the first thing we're gonna see is the view controller when we open up our application, but we actually want to change that. I'm gonna want to display a tab bar controller that's where we're gonna have our view controllers inside the tab bar controller. And we're actually gonna have two tab bar controllers, one for if a user is signed in and one if a user is not signed in. We're gonna do the user not signed in or the user signed in first. We're gonna create a new file. We go here to Explorer, create a new file, CocoaTouch class, UI tab bar controller. We'll call this primary bar view controller. All right. And in this tab bar view controller, we're gonna want to configure our tab bars. So we're gonna create a function, private func. Oh, typo. Private func. Configure tab bars. And in here we want to instantiate our view controller. So let VC1 equal view controller, and let VC2 equal favorites view controller. So shown if user is signed all right, This is only shown if there's a user signed in. The primary tab RegistrationViewController. So we're actually going to call this one HomeViewController. And now we're going to have to, so we can delete this one. And now we need to create 2 view controllers. So new file. It's going to be a UI view controller. So we need a home one. Just hit enter twice. And then we're going to do the same thing for favorites. Okay. This one should go away. Just do Command B. Just give Xcode a second. This will probably go away. All right. And now VC one tab bar image or item. Image, and here we want to actually set the image that's going to be shown in our tab bar. And if we open up SF symbol, actually we don't even need to do that anymore. I just realized in Xcode, if you go here, the plus, you can just look up SF symbols. For explore, I believe I use a shuffle. So we're going to do UI image, system name. Oh, then we need to make sure we wrap this in quotes. And then VC2, we can just hit the good old copy and paste. VC2 for this one, we just want a heart. Again, you can search through here, or if you guys want, you can download SF symbols and search in there. The title equals explore, VC2 title equals favorites. All right, and we actually want to put these in a navigation bar. So nav VC, just call this nav1. In a UI navigation controller, view controller VC1, and nav VC or nav2. Because UI navigation controller VC2. We're almost done. We actually call a function called setViewControllers. It's a cool function that we can call here in the UI tab controller. And in here we could do nav1 and then nav2 animated true. So let's actually run this and see what we get. So we're gonna have to go to the scene delegate. Wait, before we run this, so for this one, let's do view.background color. Let's do like system mint. And I'm gonna copy this, and then in the favorites, let's add a color. Just so we know what we're working with. Where's magenta? Let's do indigo. That's different. Although I don't know if indigo was to be supported for. Well, one thing I don't know if we went through was the target is iOS 14, so I'm not sure if some of these will be supported. Actually, I don't think system. Yeah. I just realized. Yeah, system mint isn't supported, so let's just do red. Is this supported? Let's just do red and blue. Go back to the basics. We hit command run. And this is building, so we'll see. So yeah, like explore and then favorites. All right, so it's working. Our tab bar is working. Just a few things I want to add in here though is I want to change the tab bar tint color to .label. This will give it a contrast. Actually, let's change it to system grade 6. Let's see how this looks. And if we do command, I think Command Shift A changes the light and dark mode. So, alright, so we're in light mode here. This is how it shows. We need the background color. I think I want to change that. Let's see. Alright. Yeah, let's do that. And then the tint color can be system background. Let's see how that looks. Because that'll get rid of the blue. Let's see how this looks. Because system gray gives you like the opposite color, but a little bit grayish. Oh. I like this one. But wait, let's do label. How does label look? Ah, there we go. I like it. I like it. All right, so now we're set with our tab bar, and now we can just start. Let's actually create some structure here. So let's create a new group. Call this home. The HomeViewController, and another group. Call this favorites. We'll put these in here. All right, so that's it for this video. We went through and set up our tab bar view controller. And then the next one, we're gonna start building out our whole home view controller. I'll see y'all there. Peace. What's up, y'all? Let's get back to it. So now we're gonna be working with our home view controller. And if you guys remember from like the preview video, we have in our home view controller, we have quite a few things. We're gonna be working on getting our UI set for the home view controller. All right, let's just get into it. So the first thing we're gonna need is an image. We'll call this place image view. This will be a UI image view. And I actually want to stamp this out using an anonymous closure, which these are super helpful, by the way, because they say, for example, in a huge project, right, where you have a view controller that has a bunch of like 300, 400 lines, right? Although we try to minimize the length of the view controller, sometimes it can get that way, and there's nothing we can do about it. And in that case, it could be tricky. Let's say you want to make a change to the place image view. You have to go through and find where it is in the project file. But having everything set here in one place makes it super helpful and lets us know, oh, everything for the place image view controller, like if you want to change something about the image content mode or the image itself, we can refer to here, and just makes it a lot easier. So what do you want to do for the image? So this is getting an error because you want to return image. You need to return the image. And what do we want? Let's do content mode equals scale to aspect fill. Clips to bound equal true. Let's add a corner radius of 10. Let's set the image equal to UI image. If you guys remember in our assets, we have an image called explore, and we'll create a function called configure UI, because I kind of want to test this out. Let's create one more thing and then we'll test it. So let's create place label label. This will be a UI label, and this right here, let label equal UI label. You get this weird thing with the formatting sometimes. Alright, label equal translate auto resizing the false. Label dot text. We'll just set that equal to explore for now. Return label. Alright, now let's create this function called configure UI. And we're just gonna quickly lay out our place image view. View.add subview, place, name label. We need to do NS layout constraints. Alright, what do you want to do? Place image view. We'll do like 100 from the top. Place image view. Center X equal center X. Place image view width and height. Let's set the width to 200 and the height constraint do like 300. Okay, I'm gonna copy and paste this for the place. To the place image view, we're gonna place the name label. I think 100 below the image sounds good. Change all these to place name label. The center X will keep it the same. The width will keep it the same, and the height we'll need to reduce it to like, let's do 48. Let's run this and see what we get. Oh, well that's, this should be bottom anchor. And it looks like our width is way too short. We should probably change this to like 400. To be honest, for this, we'll probably just hit to do the leading anchor. View.leading anchor. Let's do 24 and then place image view.trailing anchor. Let's run this and see what we get. All right, there we go. All right, one thing I wanted to note is we want to get rid of this explore that's here because it's not really serving any purpose. We're not going to use it. So in our primary bar view controller, we're going to change the VC1 tab bar item to just a title. This should only change this and not the title for the view controller. Let's run this and let's see. There we go. All right, and now let's keep on working through this. So let's get rid of this blue or this system. I just change this to system background. And okay, that'll change that. That will get rid of that red. For this explore, we want to do text alignment equals center. We also want to do font equals system. This lets us put the size of the font. So we want size 28 and we want it bold. On this image, I want to set a background color. Let's try system gray 6. This should look better. This red is very intense. It's like, damn. Alright, so the app is taking a while to launch. Sometimes that happens, and what I like to do, I just quit the simulator. And you run it again. It randomly happens. Ooh, there we go. That is good. My only thing is it's too high. Let's do 150. Let's make it bigger. Let's do 400. Let's make this 32. All right, now let's add a button. So let's shuffle button. And for this, we'll let button equal UI button. I'm gonna translate auto resizing equal to false. Button dot background color. Let's do system blue. And button dot set title equal explore. Normal. And then we'll change this title to welcome. Since we already have explore here, no need to be repetitive, right? And you want to make sure you return the button. We're gonna want to set the button color or title color. I think by default it's a label, and we just want to keep it white no matter what, if you're on dark mode, light mode. And we want a corner radius, button dot corner radius. We do I always just do corner radius because the auto suggestion will give you the layer stuff. It's just something I do. I think it's better. I'm not sure. You guys can put in the comments what you guys write. And then button, you can actually add a target here. And then you do self dots, and then here you need to do hashtag selector. Did tap shuffle. Let's touch up inside. And the only thing we need to change, we need to make this a lazy var. Actually, I don't even think you need to, but let's see. You might get an error with this self here. Or you get a warning, I think. All right, before we look at that, let's create the obj function, Do tap shuffle, print, shuffle. All right. And let's do command B and let's see if this builds. Yeah, self refers to a method. You get this warning, and it's because there might not be a self for it to refer to when this is built. So if you do lazy var, that gets rid of that. So let's move this. Let's do 24 for now. I'm going to add the button to the, shuffle button. Copy this, it's a little cheat code. Makes our lives a lot easier, right, than just having to write all this stuff down. And now we want to change, actually I like this. Maybe, no, we'll keep this like this for now. Yeah. Let's see how this looks. And we should be able to see the new UI that we set up, and we should be able to hit the shuffle button and see the log. Oh, I made this way too big. Let's do 350. And I think it's too high now. The width, I might make it line up with the width of this. So we would have to get another cheat code. You could probably, this is what we're gonna use for this project. All right, so we just ran this, and if we hit explore here, we should see shuffle. There we go. Look, boop, shuffle. All right, this is good. We're still missing some things in this in the view controller here. We're missing the category and the distance/direction label, and we'll do that in the next video. I want to keep these shorter rather than longer. That way it's easier to digest. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'll see you on the next one. Peace. All right, so we're continuing our HomeViewController, and if you guys remember from the preview videos from earlier, this is what the home screen should look like. So we can actually get rid of this background, whichever looks nicer to you. So we're missing the distance and the category view for the label. So we can just copy this actually, paste it here, distance label, distance from place label. We'll set it as distance as default, and let's put 16 as the font. Oh, I'm trying to run it. We haven't even added it to the subview yet. View.add subview, distance from place label. And this should have a similar setup as this. And this will actually go here in between the button. So we change this to this. We change the name. And now we have to change this. The bottom anchor, we want to make sure the shuffle button is 24 below the distance from place bottom anchor. Now let's run this. There we go. Oh, I don't like the bold. Let's do normal. Or I think it's regular. Now let's create a new file. We're gonna create our custom category view. So we need to create a UI view. We'll call this category view. We'll put this in our home. You want to get rid of this and just write a init, and you should autofill. You get this, and then you do your super init frame, pass in the frame, and in here we're gonna create a function called configure UI, and we're gonna write that out. We're gonna leave it blank for now because we have to actually create the UI we want to lay out. So it's pretty straightforward in our category view. It's basically just image view and a label. So we'll call this name, or yeah, we'll call it category label. UI label. And again, we're gonna stick with our anonymous closure. That way it's uniform across our whole project. Label, UI label. Label.translate auto resizing. We're gonna set this to false. Label dot text. We're gonna set this to category. Alright, so we want to do label dot font. System font size. Let's do 20 for weight. Let's keep it regular. Return label. What is this? Oh, when you use an init, you have to bring in the required initializer. I forgot about that. And that's basically just due to some storyboard stuff. Nothing crazy. Just anytime you create a UI view or anything that you use the init, you have to bring in the required initializer as well. Alright, this is set. We want to just one thing I forgot is the text alignment. We want to center it. Equal center. And then we need the circle view, circle image view. We want to set the image view, translate auto resizing equal to false. And the image is basically just going to be circle.fill. And there's a lot of circle.fills, but oh my god, there's so many. It's just the basic circle.fill, not anything crazy. So if you do UI image, system name, and if you do circle.fill, and we want to return image view, I wonder if we got the parentheses here. Now we just need to lay this out. So we do add subview, we add our category label, add subview, our circle image view, and we just do some good old ns layout constraints. ns layout constraints.activate, and we'll do the category label first. Actually, we should do the circle first because that comes first, right? Actually, let's just try with the leading anchor. Spacing of 8, and we'll do the circle image dot center y constraint equal to center y. Image view dot the width equal to 20. The height also equal to 20. For the category label, we'll set this equal to the trailing, and let's put a gap of 12. We'll copy this one because we want to keep it centered on the y-axis. But then for the for the trailing anchor, set to the trailing anchor -8. We'll do a height anchor. Height constraint equal 24. We should be good to go, but let's go back to our home view controller. So let's category view equals category view. So if we refer back to our image, so it goes image, label, name of the name label, and then it's category view, and then it's distance, and then this the button. Add subview, category view, and then we need to lay this out. All right, which one it'll be similar to? I think it'll be pretty similar to these. Except this changes to this. Actually, no, that's right. Change it to category view. Change this to category view. Let's run this. I think the spacing will probably have to change just a little bit. Oh. What happened here? Oh, I think I might know why. This had translation automatically equal to false. Now let's run this. Ah, there we go. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm gonna set the category label. I'm gonna center it with the X, and then we're gonna. So I'm gonna center them. I'm gonna do this one first, and then we'll base the position of the image based on the leading anchor of category label. And let's do 4. All right, so I'm gonna do one thing. I'm gonna get rid of this centering our category, and here in this circle image, we're gonna add some Alright, so we added -8 to the trailing. This looks pretty good. Oh, I think for the category view, let's not put a width and let's see how this looks. Alright, there we go. And the last few touches is this. Let's make this a lot closer. Alright, just really quickly, we'll change this to 32. This is taking up a lot of space. And I think the font size is only 28, so there's a lot more room for it to breathe. Let's look at the, I think this is taking up a lot of space. Yeah, this can be like 24. Let's run that. All right, there we go. And now we got our custom thing set up. And now we set up our custom view and our distance. The last thing I'll change before we wrap up, I want to just add a little bit more space here. And you guys can add any more, you guys can tweak the UI a little bit as much as you want, right? Whatever looks nice to you. All right, we'll be adding some more HomeViewController functionality in the next one. I'll see y'all there. Peace. We left off where we set up all of our UI for this, the HomeViewController. And one thing I want to do actually, I want to add a gesture recognizer here. So I'm going to create a gesture. It's going to be a UI tap gesture recognizer. Target self. And selector is this, and then did tap image. And we're going to do image. Gesture recognizer, gesture. And this will be called, if we tap it once, because with this UI tap gesture recognizer, there's an attribute that you can set. I think it's like number of touches. Where if you wanted to add a double tap feature, you could do it like this, but we're actually gonna add a context menu, which it doesn't work if you have a gesture that requires 2 taps. All right. So now we need to create this did tap image, and that'll be an OBGC function. We can create this here, did tap image, we'll call this one image. Command B, yep. And we get a warning here, and this can be corrected again if we just change this to a lazy var. All right, then we actually need to add a gesture to our label as well. Because we're gonna make it where that the label can it can open up Google Maps. So there's 2 of these, I think. If you just go up and copy this just to avoid any typos. Command B and distance. All right, let's run this. Oh, one thing we forgot to do is when you add this, you need to make sure that the label is user interaction is enabled. You're gonna set that equal to true, and we also need to do that for the image. Is user interactable? You're gonna set that equal to true. And with that, we should be set. Let's clear our log. Oh, there we go. The image is working, and ooh, let's clear this. Oh, the distance working? Let's see. Oh, see what happens when you don't use the lazy var? There should be an error. It's interesting that it throws a warning. If you create a UI label or any type of image label or anything, this will be created at the same time as the UI view controller. It'll be loaded up at the same time. And what the lazy var does, it waits a little bit so the UI view controller can load. There we go. Now distance is showing up. And now our view controller is set. The only thing that's, well, our HomeViewController UI is set. The only thing that's missing from the UI is we want to add a context menu here to this image. But we're going to do that further down once we have this actually set up. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to go through and add the gestures. In the next video, we're going to be going through and setting up Firebase and all the Firebase stuff that we need for our application. I'll see y'all there. Peace. All right, so now we need to get set up with Firebase. So we're going to use a few Firebase sections or modules. We're going to be using the authentication. And we'll just set up email and password. We'll do save. And the Firebase is really cool, right? Like you can add signing with Google, with Facebook, Apple, Twitter, all these, which is really cool. And even with a phone number. And you don't have to worry about password protection or security and all that stuff, because if you're setting up your own system, then you have to be very careful how you save and interact with all this stuff. So Firebase is super helpful, especially when you're first starting off. Like it's like a lifesaver. All right, so we're gonna use that. We also need to bring in the Firestore database. Create database. And we'll do start in production. And you want to set a region here. Be careful because you can't change this after you set it. Mine's in the US, this one, so get that set up. We're gonna go to rules really quickly. I'm gonna set this equal to true. That way we can write all we want. We can write and read all we want from the database. And we need one more thing, storage. Let's do start in production mode as well. Hit done, and then we just have to change the rule. So now here we're actually gonna create some entries in our database. And why are we doing it this way? The thinking behind this is the application is supposed to serve as something that can show you cool places near the area where you live. There's no like really good way to filter and search for just the good and interesting places nearby, right, that you want to shuffle through. So my solution to that is I created my own little database of cool places that I found either while driving or searching on the internet, or places that people told me that it's cool to check out. So you guys can follow along with me copying the same locations I do, but you don't necessarily have to. You just have to copy the same format when in terms of the field values. The alternative to this would be like just doing a search, just using Google Places to search all the places near you. But again, that's just gonna give you places that are nearby. And I wanted it to be very, like I wanted to have a set standard that I can verify that the place is kind of good or not, or at least worth checking out. So let's just create this. So the name of this collection will be places. For the document ID, I just started with 0, and I just started incrementing by 1 since I'm building this out myself. There's no need to complicate this. Fields, one of the fields is categories. Actually, let's first start off with the name. So one place I'm gonna put here is Piedmont Park, which is a park here in Atlanta. The category for this will be a nature. All right, so we're gonna have a name, a category. We need an image URL, which is gonna be blank for now because we don't have one. We'll store the document ID here, which will just match with this. All right, let's start off with this for now. Save. And I'm gonna create a few more. ID be 2. One more. We'll all right. All right, that gives us 3. And again, this is a little weird, right? You know, you tend not to see it like creating your own database like this, but again, this gives us a lot more. It gives us more control on what we're gonna allow users to see, because you can share this with your friends on TestFlight, and you can even use this yourself. If you guys kind of like going out and checking out different places in the city, you can like research, add them all here, and then one day just shuffle and see what you get. So I went through and grabbed the images. And I went through and I grabbed some images for each of these places. And if you guys have different places, then you'll have to just search on your own and find some images. A quick Google search should provide some good images for you to use. These images will be in the resources. So if you want to use these, the ones that I'm using here, what we want to do is we want to store them in our storage. We're going to create a new folder called Place Images. All right. I'm gonna hit refresh. Don't know what that was. And then I'm gonna go to my folder here, and I should actually no, I don't think this is a working fine. There we go. This should work. Now it's gonna upload the image, and we're gonna have this URL, and that's gonna be the URL for each of these images. Let me just open up each of these individually. All right, so copy. So we want to go to our database, and we're gonna look for Piedmont Park image. Which one is that one? Oh, that's this one. I'm gonna do update. The battery. No, we got Piedmont. This one's the battery, so copy and paste. Make sure you have the right URL. Then we're going to copy and paste here. Which one was that one? That was Truce Park. All right, now we have our database set up. I'm going to stop here for now. In the next video, we're going to be implementing all of this stuff into Xcode. So I'll see y'all there. Peace. All right, now we're going to get into some networking. So let's create a new group. Call this Services. In this services folder, we're going to create all of our database service, any other location services, any other services that we need. So hit create a new file. We're going to create a new Swift file. We're going to call this database service. We're going to make it a class, database service. We're going to create a function here called fetch places, and this is going to be an asynchronous call since we're going to be fetching places from our database that we have in Firebase. So we do a completion, add escaping. We're going to want to return something, and then void. In here, let's do result. We have to create a struct here called place. We'll take it out of here right now. We're going to return a place or an error. All right, let's create a group as well called models. And here we're going to move our struct in there. But before we do that, let's try to stamp this. So if we go back to our database, we can see here. Let me see, my picture might be blocking it. We can see here we have the category, the name, the image URL, and the doc ID. So let name equal string, let category equal string, let image URL equal string. All right, and we want to make sure this is codable. And doc ID, set this equal to an integer. Okay. Let's create a struct, new file, call this place. Place is in here. We're gonna import Firestore, Firebase, Firestore. And we're gonna create a database here. So let database equal Firestore dot Firestore and database. Our collection for places is just called places. It's this. We want to call order by, and we're just going to order them by this document ID. And they'll be in descending order. Descending. So we want the first ones first. So this will be a descending equals false. You call .get documents. We get a snapshot and an error. And an error. Snapshot and an error. We want to make sure if let error equal error. Then we're going to print error.localize description. Then we're going to guard let snapshot equals snapshot else. We're going to return alright, so we're going to guard let our snapshot, and let's try to print snapshot.documents. I believe that should give us an array, right? See quick. Yeah, it's an array of documents. Dots first. Alright, so we're gonna go to our HomeViewController. Create a function called fetch places. This will be down here. So we're going to create a database services instance, database.fetch, result, switch, on result, print, success, print, error. Let's try to run this. If we go back to our database service, this isn't doing, it's not going to return anything in the completion, but we should have a document printed. Alright, so we just ran this and looks like we actually got something, but it's still showing up as a snapshot. I think if we do .data, let's try to print that. Oh, let me move this. You guys saw that? Ah, look, we get category. You get a document data, nature, Piedmont Park, and the image URL. So now let's try to access this for all of them. And we're going to create a for loop for doc in documents. Create a var places equal an empty array of places. Let data equal so we're going to let name and string. And we're going to want to do the same for all of our other areas. What was it? It was doc ID, image URL, and name and category. We do category, and then image URL. The last one was doc ID, and this one's actually an integer. Then we're gonna let place equal Name, category, image URL, doc ID. Oh. And we're going to do places dot append place. In order to get rid of this option, we're going to add this nil coalescing operator right here. It's basically letting the program know if this is nil, if everything in front of this is nil, just default to that. And for this one, we'll default to 0. Now if we do Command B, this error should go away. One thing I forgot here is this actually needs to be an array. This needs to be an array of places. For the completion, we want a success, pass in places, and then for here we can actually do completion dot failure. Let's create an enum. Let's call this fetch place error. Conforms the error. The first one, we'll call this a network error. In case data error. We'll just have two cases, a network error and a data error. This one will be completion failure. Fetch place error. And I think if I rewrite this, this should autocomplete too. Let's see. Yep. And then this one would be a network error, since we just get an error with our network requests. And in here, this one would be a data error because we would be unable to convert our data into a snapshot. Now let's go back here and let's actually add a print of success. And we'll go here and we're going to print this error or failure. All right, now we're gonna run this and let's see what we get. We should get an array of places. Haha, we do. We here we get an explore places. Bam! We're in the money zone. And that'll wrap it up for this one. We went through and got our database set. Now we're fetching our places. In the next video, we're gonna go through on how to set up our HomeViewController so we can start displaying our places. I'll see y'all there. Peace. All right, so we got our database set. And let's just do some cleaning up here. I'm gonna do a new group called errors. We'll actually do this in our, I'm gonna do this outside, but I might move it into our services in the future. Copy this, new file. What is it called? Database error. It's actually called fetch places error. Oh, and I don't know why Xcode is doing that. Is that a glitch or is that just on my machine? Basically just all goes black, or it makes it hard to see because the text is black. All right, so we have our enum here for errors. Command B, this should go away. And the last thing I want to do is I want to create a protocol here. I'm just going to call this database service protocol. This is going to conform to nothing. All right. And this is just a simple protocol that we're going to create here. And I'm just going to copy this function, the signature here for this function, and we're going to conform to the database service protocol. Now, why are we adding this? So this helps creating some abstraction in our database service. So for example, in the future, if we completely change to a whole new database, or our whole database structure is remodeled for some reason, you know, so there might be something that happened, like some big change that's required. We would have to go through everywhere in our project where we have a database. And if we stamped it out like this, we'd have to find every line where we have something like this and change it. But what we can actually do is we can make this, we can make our database just conform to our database service protocol. And this is sometimes called dependency injection. And what we're going to do is we're going to let the database service, we actually got to call this a var. We're going to create a database service instance. It's going to be optional. What we could do is we can initialize it so that it's declared. It's declared wherever this this view controller is created. Super init. Super init nib nil and nil. I think we're gonna need the required initializer as well. Command B. And again, why we're doing this, because this does add some complexity to our project, but it actually decouples our code to, again, where if you have a big project and you had, let's say everywhere in the project where you're using the database service, if you had that hard coded in, it'd make it a lot harder if you want to make big changes to your database. And this would be database service, and I believe it's a question mark. All right. And now I think we should get an error. Yeah. Because right here, we're going to be missing our database protocol. And this also helps for testing. That's another reason too that this is done like this. Database service equals database service. Although we might even extract this further to be in the scene delegate. We might do that later down in the course, but for now we're going to keep it like this. We're going to try to run this. Yep, it's still fetching our list of places. And again, you might ask yourself, why are we doing this? Especially if you're new to Swift, you're like, what? Why are you doing like that? You could just create a database service here and you wouldn't have to do all that complicated stuff. But the reason this is done is because once you have these huge projects and like you have so many folders and files in your code base, doing it this way can be very helpful. All right, so back to our HomeViewController. Just create an array of places. Var places equal place. That should be fine. And then, so when we fetch places, we're gonna want to, I think we're gonna need a, oh yeah, we're gonna need a weak self here. We're doing this to avoid any retainment cycles. Command B. So this becomes a question mark. All right. Okay, so now we have an array of places. And I want to create another one called current place. And this is going to be an optional. This will be the current place that's being shown to the user. And that's why it's optional, because at the beginning there isn't anything, it's nil. But as the user shuffles, this should change. We're going to go here, and then we want to do if places is not empty, so if our array is not empty, let current place equal current place. Oh, so we're going to want to return out of here. Let's call this update current place for private func. Update current place for current place. This is a place. And if we do this, we should get current place, current place. We want to do place name label dot text equal current place dot name. So now we have to worry about a few things. We have to worry about the category. Well, first let's do the image. Then we have to worry about the category. And then we need to worry about distance. What we need to do for image is we actually need to go up here and import SD web image. So we're gonna let the URL string equal current place dot image URL, and we can let the URL equal URL from URL string, and we could do place image view dot set image URL. Yeah, there we go. And this is why SD web image is so great, because it'll just handle setting it for us and caching it and everything. Like, this is an optional, and usually you'd have to handle that if you want to set it as an image, but we don't have to do any of that. Let's run this right now, actually. Moment of truth. Oh, hey, there we go. Look, we hit shuffle and then the battery, and that's the correct image. Choose part, that's the correct image. There we go. It was just jumping between those two, but we only have 4 options, right? So the shuffle doesn't have a lot to work with, so it's not like we're gonna get very different things. But look, we're now getting all of them, and it's great. The only thing that's missing here is we have to set up our category to be different here. We want the category to match the category that's in the current place object. But to do that, we actually have to go back to our category view, and we're gonna have to make some changes. So we're gonna do that in the next video. I'll see y'all there. Peace. Now we're here in our category view, and we're gonna want to create a function here that's gonna allow us to change the title and the color of our label and our image view. So we're gonna go with a function called function. We're gonna call set for, and then category, and we'll just pass it in as a string, and category label. We'll set the category label dot text equal category. And we're just gonna go through and add some if statements. So if it equals nature, we want our text color to be green. Dot system green. And we want our circle image view dot tint color to be system green as well. And I'm gonna copy this, and we're gonna do else, and this is gonna be, what else do we have? We had food, we have venue, and we have one more thing, attraction. So for the food, I went with the system orange. For venue, I think I went with blue. And then for traction, we did system red. All right, now we go back to our HomeViewController, and here we're going to go to CategoryView.set for current place.category. And if we run this, let's see, moment of truth again. Venue, attraction, food, nature. Venue. Yep, looks good to me. Looks good to me. So now we need the distance. And for the distance, we're going to need to get the user's location, and we're also going to need to use Google Places to find the location of the place, to figure out how far that location is from where we are located. First, let's get into the location. Get in the user's location. All right, so we're going to go to the service folder, create a new file, and let's call this location service. And here we're going to import CoreLocation. We're going to create a class, call this location service. First things first, we're going to have to create a location manager. CL location manager. And let's actually create this using anonymous closure method. So let manager equals CL location manager. There's a lazy bar because we're gonna need to do some few things here. We're gonna need to call manager.delegate equals self manager requests when in use authorization, and then manager start updating location. And we're gonna return manager. And I believe we should get an error here because we don't conform to. Let's just create an extension. Location service extension TL location manager delegates. We want to track did update locations. All right, let's do Command B, see if we have any errors. Yep, we need to. This has to conform to NS object if we want to conform to CLL location manager delegates. Okay, build failed, but why? No, wait, it succeeded, but it failed. So a few things I want to clean up. I want to remove this from here, and we actually want to do manager desired accuracy. I think I went with KC. It's like KCL. Accuracy best, I believe. Yeah, and we're actually going to want to import imports combine. Whatever's going to be listening to this location service, we're going to use combine to pass communication between those two. We're going to create a publisher called location publisher. Pass through subject CLL location. Whoa. Location coordinates. There we go. So this is basically what we want to pass through. All right, and then we also want to pass in if we get a denied location access publisher. Pass through subject. Void. Then never. Okay, Command B, we should be good. Let's create a function called request location permission. That's going to allow us to actually request permission to the user's location. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So we're going to switch through our authorization status. Command B. All right, switch must be exhaustive. If it's not determined, we're going to want to request when in use. If we're restricted, let's request access. If it's always authorized, request. No, we're going to do start updating location, I believe. And then if this one is true, we're going to do start updating location. And by default, we're just going to break. So we have this one, which is gonna take into account when our location is updated. But we need one more. Location manager did change authorization. And why are we gonna use this? So the first time the app is open, it's gonna be not determined. So it's gonna request when in use authorization. And then that's it, the app is just gonna stop. Well, not the app, but the location part of it. It's just gonna stop because all it did was, it did what it asked. Like it's just gonna request the when in use authorization. And we haven't called start updating location anywhere, so it's not gonna start updating the location. It's just gonna, we're just gonna have the request authorized. To account for that, so we're gonna wanna switch to the authorization status again. And the case is always authorized. And then we're gonna do manager, start uploading location. The other case is gonna be authorized when in use. And I also want to start uploading location. Default will just break. And now we can go into our location manager, and we want to do did fail with error, I believe, too. And in here it's very straightforward. We just want to do an if-let current location. Oh, I just merged the two. Equal locations dot last dot coordinates. I'm gonna tell the location manager to stop updating because we just need the location once. And we're gonna want to call the location publisher, and we're gonna want to send our current location. And if we ever get an error, we're gonna want to print error localized description. So back in our HomeViewController, let's create a function called get current location. And let's create a location service. And here we're gonna break one of the rules I said, right? That we're gonna hard code this in. A good reason to decouple this though would be for testing, of course. And let's create our function. Get, what was it called? Is it get current location? We want to do a few things here. We want to call this function here, the request location permission. And then we're also going to want to listen to our publishers. So we do location services dot location publisher. We're going to do receive on, and then this is going to be dispatch queue, if I can spell, dot main. We're going to want to receive this on the main thread. And then we're going to do sync. This is just a completion. You can kind of leave this blank. This basically just lets you know it was a success. And this is the location. Print location. And one thing about location is you're going to have to run this on your own device, because if you run this on a simulator, it's actually not going to work. All right, so I'm going to try to run this on my device. And I'm going to not show the part where it shows my current location. And you guys can do this as well. One thing actually before we do that is we need to update our plist. So I believe it's privacy. One thing, sorry, the last thing here is we actually need to call store. And we actually need to create a var called tokens. This is just what we use for Combine. Cancelable. Or now we do command B. This should store here. Okay. Now this failed. Why? Oh, because this is. We need to import combine. Import combine. And I'm going to remove current location for now, just because I don't want to import CoreLocation into this view controller. I feel like it's already going to get too long. You see? Oh, I got the request. We're going to allow, just allow always, and it should show up on my screen, which I'm probably going to, oh, there we go. Now I gotta blur my screen. We ran it, now we got a location. And let me delete the app and make sure it works on the first run. Ask me for access. I'm gonna say allow, and boom, automatically it pops up. All right, so now we have our location, and that's it for this video. The next video, we're gonna keep working towards getting our distance set up here. I'll see y'all there. Peace. All right, welcome back. So let's continue working towards getting our distance. And now that we have the user location, we actually need to bring in, we're gonna use a Google API, and it's called, let's go to GoogleMaps API, go to Maps platform. And the one specifically is going to be the distance matrix API. This is what we're gonna use to get the distance, or to get information about the distance from one place to another. Google Maps provides some pretty cool, let's just go to getting started. Yeah, look, so if you provide a destination and an origin of a place, Google Maps will return you this whole bunch of information, and including the distance, like the actual physical distance and how long it takes to get there. So we're gonna be using that. So actually, let's copy this. And so I'm gonna copy this URL, go into copy it into Postman. Oh, you can remove that extra stuff. So cool thing, your destination, you can pass in a place ID, and for your origin, you can pass in the latitude and the longitude. And you don't need the parentheses here, that's just how I set it up to make it look nicer. We can actually just remove that. Latitude and longitude. Now we have to find these, but first let's set up our project. So go to setup cloud project, because we haven't set up a cloud project yet. We'll call this explore GCP. Just so we know that this is from Google Cloud. And I'm gonna set my I have a second billing address, because what happens is if you set it, so in this one, in this billing account, I have more than the quota for projects that can have a billing address set to it, or a billing account set to it. So when I try to do it, it just loads, I guess, as it's doing something, but nothing happens. And that's just something to keep in mind in case you guys have a lot of Google Cloud projects as well. And so we get started. I think we enabled billing, right? All right, yeah, we enabled billing. And now we have to enable the distance matrix API. Click enable. Google Cloud sometimes takes some time to load, so just let it load. All right, oh, and now we have our API key. And I copied it. So actually, let's open it on Postman again. So we have an API key. All right, let's see. Latitude and longitude of Apple headquarters. All right. Oh, dang it, this is negative or positive? Wait, I think this is positive, and I think this is negative. So no, negative latitudes represent the southern hemisphere. The negative, all right, yeah, this should be negative then, because Apple is on the western hemisphere. So let's pass in 37.3346 and 122.0099. Google Place ID for Golden. Just do Google headquarters. Let's see how far they are from each other. The standard way to find your Google Place ID is go to search for a company name. All right, there we go. So we go to this URL. Is that the name of the headquarters, Googleplex? Ah, yeah, I guess so. So we're gonna copy this and open up Postman again, and let's hit send and see if we get an error. Oh, what does it say? Oh, let's remove this space. Oh, that should be negative. And oh, I guess that's what happens when you copy and paste. Now, invalid destinations. Oh, when you pass a place ID, you have to do place ID like this. You have to add this to the front. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's 15 minutes away. All right, so our API is working. Let's copy this, and we'll treat this as our base URL. Okay, now back to our project. We're gonna be creating the function that's gonna communicate with this API in our location service. It just makes the most sense because I don't want to create a whole nother service just for this one function. And since it's related to the user location, we're just gonna wrap it in here. So we need to create a function, get distance from user to place, pass in latitude, string, longitude as a string as well, and then place ID. String, and this is a network call, so it's asynchronous. So we're gonna use the completion to let us know when it's done. We'll have a result, pass in a string, and we'll just do an error for now. We'll probably create our own custom error, and we'll do void. All right, that's the function. And let's create a mark here. We'll just call this GoogleMaps API. And then we're gonna create let base URL. Although I don't know if you're allowed to create, I think it's in extensions, you're not allowed to create this like a property, right? Yeah, we can just put the base URL in here, and we'll have to do some string interpolation. So it's / or this backward slash, the parentheses, and this for here we'll pass in the place ID. For this one, we need to pass in the latitude and then the longitude. So for this one, longitude, for this one, latitude. And one thing to note is, since we're passing this, since we're gonna make a network call with this, you can't pass in a comma. It doesn't know what, it's gonna throw an error. So to handle that, you do %2c, and that way the URL knows, oh, this is supposed to be a comma. And I believe that's the only thing we need to change here. I guess you could, our API key. We have to, let me open a Postman one last time. Copy this API key. Okay, and let's put this at the top. Google API key. All right, so now we just have to make a network request. We have to basically set up to create our basic network request. And to do this, we have to create a URL from this. So base URL. Now we have else return, which will probably want to return an error, completion, failure, just error. I think you do .error. All right, and then we just want to call URL session task. URL session shared task. Is data task with. It's requiring us to create a URL request. So we're gonna create a simple URL request here. Pass in a URL request. We're gonna get a data response error, and then so guard let error equals nil, and we can also let HTTP response as HTTP URL response, and then HTTP response dot status code equals 200. Else we return. We'll handle the completion a little bit. Now we have to guard let our data equals data else return. And let's create an enum down here really quickly. So this is Google Maps. Now let's call this fetch distance error. And our cases are so unable to create URL. What else? And then invalid response. All right, and we're gonna put this in here. Completion dot failure. Oh, we have to make sure this conforms to error. Otherwise, that's how we weren't getting the auto completion. Failure. This is unable to create URL. Well, it looks like we need another one. Oh, accidentally created a breakpoint. Completion. Failure. Invalid data. All right, now we're ready to work with our network. Now we're, wait a minute. Oh, there. All right, so now we need to, so let's move this into our errors. Over here, new file, fetch distance error. Okay, and this one, I actually want to change this to camel case, and we should get an error here. All right, why is this failing? I think it hasn't registered that this change. All right, so our boot is working. I'm gonna stop here for now. And in the next video, we're actually gonna work with we're gonna go look at Postman and figure out what structure we need to get make sure we get the actual text of how long it's gonna take to get there. We'll do that. We'll be doing that in the next video. I'll see y'all there. Peace. All right, so let's continue building this out. I'm gonna minimize this a little bit, hide this, so we can review our network response and we can set things up accordingly. So we're gonna have to create some structs, and these are all gonna have to be decodable. And the first one I like to always create is a response. It's decodable. And what do we care about? So we only care about, so then our response is what we're getting. In our project, all we care about is the rows. And if we see rows, rows is an array of what? We'll just say it's an array of rows. It's an array of rows. And struct, we're going to create a row, decodable. Now what do we have in our row? We have an object. So row is an array. And it looks like it's just an array of one object or one item. So in this item, we care about the elements. And elements looks like it's also an array, but it's an array of one object as well. So we'll call this element struct. All right. And now in our element, we only care about the duration, which gives us an object. Yep, it gives us an object. So let duration equal duration. I think it has two values, right? Text and value. I wonder what this value means. Just like a random integer, right? But I'm guessing it means something. And now we're gonna create another struct called duration. Make sure this is decodable. Let text is a string. Command B. All right. I think what you could do is, since these are all arrays of single objects, you can try to run it like this. Since there's always going to be, since it's always just a single, we can actually try to get rid of the array, since these are always be just one element in all of these. But this may not work. We'll actually just, we'll test it and see. We can just do, so we're going to create our decoder, JSON decoder, and then we're going to create if let row equal try decoder that dot decode. So if let row equals try decoder dot decode response dot self from data. So if this executes, and actually, can you guys see this? Yeah. Oh, so if this is true, then our text should equal row dot rows dot elements dot duration dot text. Print text. And one thing you always never want to forget to do is you need to do dot resume. Otherwise you'll be waiting for this network call to happen and it won't. Dot resume. And we need to do some completion handling here, but we're not gonna do that for now. Let's actually just go to the HomeViewController and let's test it here. Which it's gonna look ugly, but we'll delete this. Alright, func get distance from. So let's actually open a Postman and let's see if we're able to get this. So this is the place ID. We'll pass this in for longitude and this in for latitude. We get a completion, well, we get a result. And we could just switch on the results. Print, yay. Print, no. Okay, let's run this. Oh, I need to run this on my device. Let's run this and see. We should have something we should either get an error or we should get the distance printed in our console. So let's clear the console, make this bigger. All right, so it's asking for my location. Sure. All right. Looks like nothing's happening. Did we forget something? Let's print this. Print. Oh no, I think this is where we're getting. Because if it's unable to decode it, then I'm pretty sure we're getting here. So that means that we have to actually do an array. Yeah, that means this needs to be wrapped in an array, and this one as well. And I think duration may need to be in an array. No, elements are in an array. Yeah. Yeah, we need to put these in an array, and we just need to do first dot elements dot first. This is gonna get ugly, so let's change the response. Let's change this to Google Maps response. And I'm gonna change this to Maps response, and then Maps response dot rows dot first, which this should be optional. And then we're gonna let element equal row dot elements dot first, and then might as well just wrap these in the if let. So since they're gonna be optional. And then once we get to elements, Then that's not optional. All right. So let duration equal element dot duration. Well, actually, we could just do text straight off the bat. Or do command B. This function expected to produce ability to mean to call. Hold on. There we go. The formatting was off a little bit. Do allow once. 15 minutes. So our API is working. Let's do completion dot success, and then you pass in the text. Let's put a space here just to let it breathe. And if we get here, it's a failure, so you have to go to our fetch distance error case. What case is that? Decode data. Unable to decode data. Alright. I'm gonna move this into our models. New file. Call this Google Place. No, what is it? It's Google Maps response. And paste all that in here. Command B. Yeah, you'll see that for now. It'll go away. Let's just do a guardlet here. And then we'll do else. And what we do is, I feel like a guardlet would be looks a lot nicer, especially since we're using guardlets here. I'm gonna try this. All right, and it went through successfully. We're not printing text anymore, so we don't see the distance, but you saw we got a success. All right, that's it for this one. In the next one, we're gonna be going through and actually implementing this so we can view the distance on each of our places that we have in our application. I'll see y'all there. Peace. Welcome back. We're going to be continuing working through getting our distance set up here. I'm going to leave this in here for now. And actually what we want to do is in our database, we're going to want to add the Google Place ID. And if you go on Google and just search Google Place ID on Google and Place ID Finder, in here you can enter any location and find the place ID for it. So if I want Piedmont Park in Atlanta, I'll copy this and gonna add a new field, place ID, and we could lowercase. Actually, just keep it uppercase, since the ID here is also uppercase. And where else? The battery, Atlanta. So now we have our place ID set up in our database. We're gonna actually have to update one of our models. So the place model, we're gonna add a place ID. That's gonna be type string, and let's try to print this out. So where are we fetching our places? We're fetching them here, so let's print success. Oh, let place ID equal, and this is why you might want to change the implementation of this right here. We might do that later on. That way it, there's a way to change the implementation, but we would have to bring in another module. I think it's called Codable Firebase, something like that. But for now, we're going to keep it like this. But in the future, that's something worth noting, because anytime we make changes, we're going to have to come here and make this concrete changes, which we'll live with for now. We might come back in the future and change this. All right, so we're running this, see what we get. All right, and we got it. And we have the place ID for all of these places. Now we can make a request to get all the function, or to get the distance. So let's create a function called private func called, let's call this fetch, and fetch distances. All right, so how do we want to handle this? So we could put the fetch distances here, but we don't know if we're gonna have places yet. So it's actually a little tricky, right? Because we have two asynchronous calls that are gonna happen, and we need both of them to finish before. And something that we can do is we can have a var called location, which will be a tuple of strings. And so you made this an optional. So we're gonna have a tuple that's an optional here for location. I should call this current location. All right, and then we're gonna need weak self here. Weak self guardlet strong self equals self else return strong self current location equals, oh, we're gonna have to create a lat and a longitude. So we're gonna use string interpolation to easily convert this into a string. Saves us a lot of time. And then let long equals string location dot longitude. lat and long. So succeeded. And we'll actually just call fetch distances here. Strong self dot fetch distances current location dot 0 and then current location dot 1. Just give us an error because this can be optional. So let's make these empty. And we need strong self here as well. Command B. And we should get rid of the errors. Okay. Actually, let's get rid of these. We can get rid of this. We don't need this here. And we can make this optional, right? And then we'll just handle here. We'll handle this stuff in here. So guardlet location, current location equal current location. And what else do we want to guard? Places dot count greater than 0. So if either of these are true, we're gonna just return. Else, we're gonna loop through each place. So for place in places, we're gonna loop through each of them, and we're gonna call our location service dot get distance from place, current location 0, current location 1. The place ID will be the place ID. Completion will be a result. So we get a result, and then we're gonna switch over the result, and we have a success and a failure. Let's print the failure dot localize description. And in the success case, let's actually, so it's something we need to do. We need to create another property for our model here. And this is gonna be a variable because this can change. And we're gonna call this property, let's call it distance. And this will be a string optional. And this string optional is good because that means that we don't have to worry about it when we're making our network request. Like it can be nil. And what we want to do is we want to set place.distance equal to success. And command B. So when you do a for loop like this, the place is immutable. So we're not going to be able to change the distance to the success that we get here. So what we actually have to do is we're going to have to change the way we're doing our for loop. So we're going to do a for I in 0.places.count. And what this for loop is going to do is going to start at 0, and it's going to go all the way up until it gets to the length of the places array. What we are going to want to change is the places at the ith index dot distance. So we're going to want to change the distance attribute of each place for the ith index to success. And we actually have to change places to the ith index. And we're getting an error somewhere. Let's hit command B. We gotta use weak self. And what does that mean? We have to do a little guardlet with strong self. Else we want to return. Boom, command B. Build succeeded. Haha. And now, when we're done here, after this for loop, all of our places should have the distance. Now we can go back to this update current place function, and if we go up top, what was the name of our label? Distance from place label. We can grab this distance from place label dot text, and you set it equal to current place dot distance. And this is optional actually. So let's do this. So if current place, let's do if let distance equal current place dot distance. We're gonna set the text to this. Else we're gonna want to set, else we'll just leave it blank. Let's run that. And I'm actually gonna hook up my device, so give me a second. Alright, one thing I'm gonna change or add here is this else. I'm gonna change this to get directions because we're gonna want the user to be able to open Google Maps or any other maps provider. So if they don't have a distance, we'll just do get directions so they can tap on that. So they can know that they can tap on that. So they can have a better idea that they can tap on that to get directions instead of just saying distance. Alright, so I'm gonna run this on my device. Alright, and here's a little screen recording of it working on my phone. I was trying to use the QuickTime player to show it here on my laptop, but I've been having some issues. So here's a recording of it on my phone. As you can see, we have the minutes away showing. Well, just minutes. So what I want to do is some good old string interpolation to put the distance, and then we can add just away at the back, just to put away, just put away, just to make it look a little bit nicer. We'll run that, and we should see it. All right, hit shuffle, boom, down really quick. And all right, let's make this lowercase, I guess, cause the minutes is lowercase. And if you see, I'm tapping on distance. All right, we can stop this. Let me unplug my device. All right, so now we got our distance set up. See you on the next one. Peace. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. We're continuing our project. Now we're gonna try to have it where when the user taps on this distance from location label, distance from place label, the Google Maps pops up basically. So the way we're gonna do that is there's this cool API. Let me copy this link. And this link will be in the description, by the way. There's this cool method of getting the URL of any place on Google Maps using this URL, and then you just copy in the place ID. For example, for Truce Park, we're gonna copy the ID in here. Just hit enter, and here in our browser it'll load it up for us, and it'll actually do the same thing on our iPhone. So we're gonna take this URL, and have the URL in the resources, but we're gonna take this URL and we'll get a private func called open Google Maps. And first we're gonna guard let current place equal current place to make sure we actually have a current place. Otherwise, we're not gonna open Google Maps or anything. This should only happen on the loading screen when we first launch the app. All right, then we're gonna create another function called create maps or create place URL, and in here we'll pass it well, let's just create it, private func create place URL, and in here we pass in a current place, we have type place, and here's where we'll use the URL that we have. It's basically, it's just this right here. It's just this URL, and then you want to make sure you put current place. You want this current place ID. And we're using this one because we don't have to worry about it being optional since we passed it in through here. Actually, let me. Okay, and then we're going to let's return URL. Return a URL, and then we're gonna let URL, or we're gonna guard let URL equal URL string base URL. Oh, else we want to return, and we just return the URL, and then we're gonna call this place URL, and we're gonna use some function here called UI application shared .can open URL con Google Maps, and this basically lets us know if we can open Google Maps on our iPhone. And gmaps URL, let's create another guardlet. We can put this in here, guardlet gmaps URL string can open, and then gmaps URL. Let's call this gmaps app URL. We might as well just add Google just to be highly specific so people know what we're talking about. So if it can open it, then open it. Then we're gonna want to open with our place URL. Else let's import Safari sessions, Safari services, and we're just gonna present it in Safari or in the SafariViewController. URL, place URL, present, call SafariVC, animated, hold on, wait a minute, present, SafariVC, animated equals true. Hit Command B. Oh, and there's a typo somewhere. Oh, I think I have an extra. Open. Wait, where is it? Extra trailing closure. Oh, we don't need these parentheses. Command B now. Oh, so we'll make this optional, and we're gonna make our guard statement bigger. Might as well. All right. Now we hit Command B, and then you gotta return nil here. Hit Command B, and this should be good to go. All right, build succeeded. Now let's try to implement this. So let's get rid of this blank space. So where's our action on did tap label? So if you did tap label, let's call it open Google Maps. Gonna hit run. Oh, we can run this on our simulator, and it should open Safari because we don't have Google Maps downloaded. If I run this on my device, it should open it on Google Maps. If you have Google Maps installed on your device, then it should do the same. I'm going to test it first on the simulator and then on my device. Now once, I don't think the location is going to work. It's actually a good test case because I don't believe I've tested it without the location working. So yeah, it just says get directions. We click on get directions. Click on get directions. Haha. Then we can go on here and get our directions. You can put my house and just see how far the place is from you. And now I'm gonna try to run it on my device. All right, here's a screen recording of it on my phone. So I'm hitting shuffle, 17 minutes away, 32 minutes away. I'm gonna hit Google Maps and oh, it opened it on my Safari. It looks like we have an issue with our URL. So let's go back to our URL. We actually need to go into this info and we need to add a new property, or need to add a new line here called queried URL schemas, and we need to add an item. Item 1 or item 0 should be our comms.map URL. All right. This basically is going to allow our application to open that URL. So now I'm going to run this on my phone, record. All right. And we have Piedmont Park. Let's open this. Oh, opened it in Google Maps. See? Voila. Perfect. So now our explore page is pretty set up. Like it's coming along really nicely. And now we're going to put this aside and focus on our favorites view controller, and we'll do that in the next section. I'll see you guys there. Peace. All right, let's get into our favorite view controller section. So we're going to have to come here. We're going to go to our favorite view controller. We'll close out all these other tabs. This is a picture of our favorites view controller. And if you see here, this is actually a table view cell. Well, these are table view cells. This is all a table view. And we have a little header. So it's pretty simple, what we have on our table view, or what we have in our favorites view controller. So let's create the table view. We're going to call this a lazy var table view, UI table view. I'm going to use an anonymous closure. Table equal UI table view. And we want to return table. We want what should we add? The delegates equals self, and the data source equals self. One thing to note, we can do this here, assign the delegate and the data source, because this is a lazy var. If it was just a regular var or a let, then we would get an error. And this error is because we're not conforming to UI table view delegates. Hit Command B. Now we got to conform to the data source. Hit Command B again. And now we should be good. And now we need to conform to the protocol. One thing we need to do in here, let's do translate auto resizing equal to false. Although we might not need it because we might just assign the table view to the whole frame. But we're just doing that just to be safe. And table dot, we're going to register. For now, we're going to use a default table view cell, but we'll probably change that here shortly. We'll call this cell, and then let cell equal table view dot dq reusable cell, identifier cell, and then index path is just the index path we have here. Return cell. And we also want another function, which is number of rows in section. Let's create a variable called places, or we'll call it favorite places. And this would just be an array of object place, an array of places. And we can return favorite places dot count, but I'm actually gonna return 3 real quick, and let's change the text of this just so we can see if this is running. So hello, and we'll change this to system background. Let's run this. And we should have a table view with 3 cells that say hello. Alright, so our applet up, we're gonna go to the FavoritesVC. And oh, we don't see anything because we didn't add the table to the subview. So let's create a function called configure UI. This should just be a private func called configure UI. And we'll add table view to the subview, and we'll do table view dot frame equals view dot bounce. Replace and run. Allow once. Favorites. There we go. Hello. All right. Let's bring in a function did select item at row at. Now we'll just deselect next path equal true, animate equal true. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and create our custom table view cell. So we're gonna go to new file. You can select CocoTouch class and UITableViewCell, and we're gonna call this favorites or favorite table view cell. Yeah, let's call it favorite table view cell since it's just a single cell. Hit create. We can delete all of this and just go with init. Make sure you call super, style, reuse identifier, and hit Command B, and then you get an error. And then pass in the required initializer. All right, so what do we need for our table view? So if you look here, we just need a text, like a label. We just need a label and an image view. So that's all we're gonna bring in. So let's place image view. That's going to be a UI image view. Let image view equal UI image view. And we're going to return image view. Alright, so we created our image view. What do we want to... in our image view, let's set the translate auto resizing equal to false. We'll put content mode equal to scale.fill. Scale aspect fill. We'll do the image view dot clips to bound equal true, and then we'll set a corner radius. Corner radius, and this will be like 5. We'll set it to 5, and then by default, like if we don't, actually no, let's set a default image, and let's just set Explorer. If we go to our assets, this is Explorer, so we'll just set that as a default, and then we need the label. Place label. This is a UI label. Let label equal UI label, and we return label. And all we're gonna do here is we can just add the translate auto resizing equal to false, and also we can set the font. System font, we're gonna do size. We'll just do system font with no weight. We'll keep it the weight regular, or the one that's by default, which I think is regular, I believe. All right. Okay, and one thing we're missing is we need a static let's identifier here, and this is what we'll just use when we're required to pass in the identifier for the cell. So static let identifier favorites. Yeah, just copy and paste this here, and we're pretty much good to go. We'll create a function called configure UI now. Private func configure UI. Get rid of the spacing. And in here, we're going to add subview. We'll add the image first, and then the label. Then we want to do some auto layout. So auto layout constraints dot activate. And in here, we'll do place image view dot leading anchor constraint to the leading anchor. And we can do content view dot leading anchor. We'll do 12. Place image view dot top anchor constraint content view dot top anchor constraint. We'll do 12 as well. Place image view dot bottom anchor constraint. Content view dot bottom anchor, and then for this one you do -12. And then we're actually going to bring in a width anchor. We're going to use a width anchor constraint equal to a constant, and the constant we're going to use for now is 75. We might change this right now when we load it up. Constraint. All right, place image view. So we want the leading anchor for this to be pinned to the trailing anchor of the image, and we'll have a gap of like 12. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to center the y-axis of this label with the place image view. That way it looks, I feel like it would look a lot better, right? Like it'd look more symmetrical. And for the place label, the trailing anchor, we can make it content view dot trailing anchor. You can do -12 in case it's a super long name of the place. And anything we're missing. All right, let's run this right now. Or let's we're missing one thing, or we're gonna add one more thing here, but for now let's run this, or let's add this to our FavoritesViewController. So to do that, we're gonna call FavoritesTableView and then for the identifier you will do FavoritesTableViewCell dot identifier, and right here you want to call dot identifier, and let's hit run and let's see how this looks. There's still some things we need to add, but let's hit run. Whoa, LOL. So it looks like in our auto constraints we're missing something. Content view dot bottom anchor. Clips to bound is true. Let's change this to scale to aspect fit. There we go. Why is it over there? Let's see. So let's bring in a function height for row at. We're gonna return 80. And let's see if this helps with our UI. I believe there's also something wrong with our constraint. So the place.bottom anchor, content view dot bottom anchor, the width, the top. Let's get rid of content view. Yeah, we actually don't need content view here. And that should help our UI. Let's make one more change to this. Let's make the height 100. All right. And oh, we didn't add a text for the label. That's why we don't see it. So let's add hello here. Hello. Now let's run this. And all right. So look at our table view cells are looking really nicely actually. I like the way they look. So now in our favorite table view cell, we're gonna make a function. We're gonna call it a public func called configure with. Then you're gonna pass it in place. And we'll put model here. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna pass in the place to the cell, and from the place we're gonna grab the image URL and also the name of the place. So all right, so for the place image view, we're gonna actually have to import SD web image, and we'll call SD web image here set image, and the URL will be from model.image URL, and then the place label.text will be set here as well to model.name. Command B, and then let URL equal. So we have to make it into a URL. Let URL equal URL from string model.image URL, and then we pass in the URL here. Command B. All right. And now we'll go here, and then we have to do a guardlet. Guardlet this as a favorites. This will give us the ability to access the function that we called, because otherwise, without this, we won't be able to call cell.configure with, and then we can use favorite places at index.row. And if we don't have one, then we return just a basic UI table view cell. Hit Command B, and this should be running. And then we will change this to favorites places dot count. Hit Command B again. All right, and let's try to run this, and we should see a blank screen. All right, so we're seeing a blank screen, so that means it's working, right? And we can try to mock some data here actually. Let's let mock equal. We'll make this of type an array of type place, and then let's pass in a place name of Statue of Liberty, Category, what category is that? That is an attraction. Image URL, we don't have one. We'll set it to nil. Document ID 0, place ID. This shouldn't matter for our table because we're just going to use it here. Let's see. Say Command R. And one thing I forgot to do, we have to configure it here. So let's do mock. Sorry about the camera. There you go. And it's blank. So if it fails, it's just going to show a blank. Let's see how we can. Let's see if let URL equal. We'll do this. Else, let's do place image view. Wait, actually no. We don't need to do this then because it's by default it'll be set to explore. So let's try to run this and see if that solves our blank image. There we go. All right, that's it for this one. The next one we're going to be continue setting up our FavoritesViewController. I'll see y'all there. Peace. So we're going to continue our FavoritesViewController setup. And what we need to set up now is we actually need to let's create a function. Make this a private func called setup navbar. So in this function, we're going to want to set the navigation item dot right bar button item. We're going to set this equal to a UI bar button item with an image, style, and target. All right, so the UI image will be, we'll just do person. Style will be dot plain. Target will be self. And the selector would be selector. Then we'll call this did tap profile. And we need to create an OBGC function here called did tap profile and Command B. Let's write a print statement here to profile. And anything else? And I think if we run this, this might not show. Let's see. Oh, we didn't even call the function, so of course it's not going to show. So let's call setup navbar. There we go. And it's blue. So to change that, we'll have to do self.navigation item dot. Actually, we want to go to the navigation controller dot navigation bar dot tint color, and then we'll set this to dot label. We run that, and voila. Hey, this is nice. Let's see how it looks in light mode. Pretty good. And let's see if this works. Profile, yep. So now let's get into setting up a profile view controller. So I'll create it here in this favorites. Create a group and then create a folder, and then we're gonna go to CocoaTouch class, and we need to create a UI view controller. And we'll call this profile view controller. And we can delete these comments. Take these comments. View.background color equals system.background. Okay, so what do we want in our view controller? So we want an image. We want a profile image. Select profile image view, UI image view. We want a username label. We want, what else do we want? We want a sign out button. Sign out button, UI button, and we're gonna create two other labels. One is a UI. One will be a privacy policy. No wait, private policy. I think that's what they. I think it's privacy policy or private policy. I don't remember. We'll call it private policy for now. Oh, I did too. And terms and conditions. You can't do that. I think we do T and C. Let's just write it out. UI label equals, and then so for here we'll do let image view equal UI image view, and we're gonna return this image view. Here we'll do let label equal label or UI label, and we'll return this label. And you could just copy that here and then copy that here. For here we'll just change this to UI button and change this to button. What's this error? Cannot convert expression. Oh, that's funny. All right, so for the image view, we're gonna want to translate auto resizing equal to false. Image view, we're gonna do clips to bound equal true. We want to make sure it's user interactable. So is user interactable? Yes. This equal to true. Lazy. We'll make this a lazy var so we can we'll add an action to it or a gesture. UI tap gesture recognizer. Actually, we'll do that later. So you want to make a user interactable. We'll do that later down on the road. For now, the default image will be, we'll just use Explore again as the default image. And let's add a corner radius. And let's create a constant actually called, we'll call this image view width. This will be a CG float. And let's set it to 120 for now. And we'll set the corner radius equal image view width divided by 2. And in order to access it, we'll create a lazy bar. Command B, we should have no errors. Oh, this is a typo. So when we lay out our constraints, I want the image view to be a circle. And to achieve that, you set the corner radius equal to the half of the width or the height. Assuming they're both the same, then if you set it equal to the width or the height divided by 2, then you should get a circle. For our label, .text, let's just at username. Let's just do at JSON. And label.translate auto-resizing equal to false. Sign out button, do some translate auto-resizing equal to false. For the button, let's set a title equals sign out dot normal button dot. We'll add a target here, self, selection and selector, did tap sign out. And for touch up inside, okay. And what else? Let's do a button dot background color. What colors do we have available to us? I like these, but I don't think these are available to us. Purple, let's set it equal to purple for now. And for the button, let's set a corner radius. Set this equal to 10. Cannot find did tap did sign. So we need to create a function objc did tap sign out. Again, we'll print here just sign out, and let's create a lazy bar just to get rid of the warning that we're gonna get. Alright, for these labels, we can just set translate auto resizing equal to false, and we're just gonna set the font equal to system font size 16 dot medium. And for these, actually change the name, and I want to change these to UI buttons actually. So let me just copy and paste it. And then we need to copy and paste this here. Alright, call this suggestions. And for this button, we'll just set the title equal to report any issues dot normal. And for this one, we set the title to suggestions question mark dot normal. Button dot set text color or title color, and do dot link for normal. Hit Command B, should get no errors, and then we just want to add a target for these. So button dot add target, self dot selector is selector, touch up inside, did tap report issues, and we'll copy this in here. Did tap suggestions, copy this. Need to create an objc func. Did tap report issues. Copy this again, put it here, grab this one, print report, and print suggestions. Command B, and we get this little error here, and we'll just copy them here. Alright, now we have to just lay out our UI. Configure UI, private func, configure UI. We're going to add all of these to the subview. So the first one was profile image, then it was username label, view dot sign out, sign out button, view dot add. Then the last one is a suggestion button. Let's finish laying out our constraints. So profile image view dot leading anchor. Actually, let's center this. We'll center this to the center X anchor of the view, and let's do a width anchor and a height anchor. We'll set it equal to the same. And do we want any? Oh, let's set one from the top. Top anchor constraint equal to view dot top anchor. Let's do like 100 from the top. Don't forget the comma. The username label dot top anchor will be right below that. Let's do bottom anchor. Let's do like 24 spacing, and let's keep the center X the same. And anything else. Let's put a height anchor. What's our font size? I don't think we set one. For our font size, let's set system size. Let's do 20. And for our anchor, we'll do 24. Anything else we want to include here? We can leave that for now. Copy and paste this. Sign out button. I want to bring in a width and a height for the sign out button as well. So the sign out will be below this. We can set it. We can add a lot more spacing. Let's do like 160. And the width, let's do 150. And the height, let's do 50. And then we also need these. Report an issue. Report issue. Report issue. This becomes a sign out label. We can reduce this spacing here. And I'm gonna change this to 120. And copy this one more time for the suggestions. And I think we're gonna change the size of we can change the height anchor, I believe. Let's change this to 24. And let's run this. And I think we called our function. Yeah, we did. Configure UI. Oh, we're not presenting this though. So this is not gonna show. All right, so here in our did tab profile, we'll call that profile VC equal profile, and navigation controller push profile VC animated true. Okay, let's see how this looks. All right, so we're gonna hit the profile, and well, at least the name is popping up. The username popped up, but what happened to the rest? So this is centered to view. We forgot to do the translate auto resizing of false for these. Did we forget it for anything else? No. Let's run it now. Hit our sign out button. Sign out button. Ah, there we go. This is pretty good. We can extend this to like 250, I think. And the image is not showing up. Explore. Oh, I put system name. That's why. And one thing I want to add here is to this image view, I want to add a border. Border color dot UI color dot white. I think this has to be a CG color, I believe. Yeah. So that's how we use CG color and image view dot border width. We just set this to 1. Run this, and I think I'm gonna change this to label because I'll show you right now. Because in light mode, it's not gonna look good. All right, and it's not bad. Let's change this to label. Let's hit run. I like it though. I like the setup. The profile view controller is set up pretty well. We have to set up these functions. We'll do that in a little bit. Let's see how the change looks. Not bad. Personal preference. And the spacing too, you could probably shrink it down or make the spacing a little bit bigger. All right, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Before we continue working more with our profile VC, we're actually gonna have to set up our auth service, which is gonna handle our user authentication, including login, register, sign out, all that good stuff. All right, so we're gonna create a new file. We're gonna call it, it's a Swift file. We're gonna call it AuthService and class AuthService. So what are we gonna want? So first we need to import Firebase Auth, and then we also want to import Firebase Firestore. First function, let's do register. And with register, we're gonna want the user to register with an email. With email, it's gonna be a type string, and then password string as well. We'll have a full name string, and then also username string. And we need to actually add a completion here, make it add escaping, because this is going to be sent to Firebase. So it's going to be an asynchronous call, so we need to make it escaping. We'll go with results since that's what we have in our other completion handlers in this project. And you return void. All right, so this is for the register. We're also going to have a login with, and we're going to log in with the email string, password string. This will also be a completion, or add escaping, result, bool, error, and then we want to return void. And one more function called sign out. And in sign out, this one's going to be the simplest function. We're just going to we're going to have a do catch block, and we're going to have a try statement in here, and it's actually instantiating auth here, auth.auth, and then we have to call try, print unable to sign out. Now let's get to setting up these functions. So for the register, we need to call auth.createUser. We're going to use this one, and if you do option shift, we can select it with the completion handler, and we'll pass in the email that we have, the password, the result, and the error. If let error equal error, return, and we'll pass in the completion dot failure. We need to create an enum here, enum auth error, type error, case unable to create user. We'll just call this register user, and then failure, change this to auth error, then unable to register user. Okay, we can also print error.localize description. I think the result is optional, so let we can grab the user from the result, so user else return error. Let's call this error registering user, case invalid from registering user, invalid result from registering user. This completion will go here, dot failure dot invalid result from registered user. This is gonna change. All right, now we're gonna grab all this information and post it to our database. That's where we can store their profile picture, their email, username, and all that stuff. So, because in Firebase, all that's going to be there, or yeah, all the auth is going to store is their email and password. So we're going to create an array of the data. First, we're going to save the email, and that's just the email that we got passed in. Then we could save the full name. We'll save the username, and that'll be username, and we'll want to lowercase it. And we're going to want to save the UID for the user, and we'll access that using the UID. And now we're going to use Firebase Firestore, let db, short for database, equal firestore.firestore, and we can call db here dot collection, and we're going to create a collection. Looks like we need to refer to self here, so we're going to do weak self. All right, so I created a guardlet instead, and I brought in the strong self because we're going to need it here in a little bit. And I made sure the error is not equal to nil. If it is, we're going to pass in this completion, and we'll print the error. Let's print the error and then do the completion. All right, and one thing I want to do here is, so this is for us creating the user, and after the user is created, we're going to want to store the user's data into a database. So let's actually create a function that'll do that for us. So private func store first time into database, and we can just copy all of this. To be honest, instead of password, we'll pass in a UID. The completion handler will be a bool. We need to create a new error, enum firestore error. Call this error. First case, unable to store first time user. And we'll call this Firebase error or Firestore. And don't forget to the curly braces. So we're gonna move this over here, and we just need the UID. We'll use strong self here to call this function. Pass in the email, user.uid, full name, username, dot lowercase. All right, and then we'll have a result. We'll switch over the result. We'll print the failure, dot localize description, success. We'll get a completion, and this will be true. Well, actually, success, and then you pass in true. All right, we got to continue this function here. I created a database variable up here, by the way. db equals firestore.firestore, and that's what we're going to use in here. db collection, this will be users because that's where we're gonna store them. Document, and you can pass in a string here that'll give the document, this will be the document's name, and we're just passing the UID for the user. And we'll pass in, or we'll call set data. Make sure you do Control Shift, or no wait, Option Shift. Enter. We can pass in the data here. Then we have a completion. If let error equal error. We're gonna print the error. Localize description will return, and completion dot failure. As well, we didn't even need to do result if we're just using a boolean. But you could pass void. Then, so for this one, unable to store first time user, completion, success. Just use this and it'll pass in void. Okay, all right, you can get rid of the let. And looks like we're good here with the register function. Now let's stamp out our login function. This will be fairly similar. We're gonna use auth again, and then this time, instead of create user, I believe it's sign in. And make sure you do Option Shift Enter. Email, password, result, error, guardlet result, equal result, error not equal to nil. Else we want to return. We can call this unable to sign in. This will be an auth error. Completion. Able to, instead of result, we can just call user here, and then we get the user already. And for now, we're not going to do anything with the user. We'll just print the user's email, and we will pass in the completion. Success, true. All right, Command B. All right, we're good to go. All right, so that's it for our AuthService. I'll see you on the next one. Peace. All right, welcome back. We just finished wrapping up our AuthService, and one thing I noticed is, so this function here, it's actually making a call to our database, so we really shouldn't have it here. We should, this more belongs into our database service. So we're going to cut this and then put it into our database here. And then we can make a mark, which will be, make a mark comment. And we can say this is for user data. And then we need to make this public. And then this will change. We'll have to remove this. Oh. And put this here. Actually, it's already here, so so we just need to call database collection, and then we'll have to instantiate database service equal database, and here we'll need to call database service dot. Command B, the error should go away, and we'll need to move this error as well. Well, actually, we can move these into their own files, so let's open this up, new file, Swift. Oh, this was a Firebase error, no, Firestore error. And then we had one more, which was our auth error. Okay, Command B, and we can get rid of this import. We're not using it in here. All right, I just want to do that cleaning up. See you on the next one. Peace. Now let's get into our onboarding, which will contain our login controller and our registration controller. So we'll create a new group, call it onboarding, and let's create a new file. Go touch just a view controller. We'll call this login view controller. Hit create. You can delete the comments. And what do we want for our view controller? So we're gonna need two text fields for our view controller, our email and our password. We'll call this let email field. Call this text field. So UI text field. We'll use an anonymous closure again. Let field equal UI text field. And we can return field. And we'll do field.placeholder. For this one, we'll say email address. What else? So we need we're gonna set the left view mode equal to always. And then we're gonna set a left view here. And this will help us with our UI. Otherwise, it gets a little, like if you don't add this left view thing, the spacing, like where you enter in the text, it'll be hugging the border of the text field, and it just doesn't look as good. So we're gonna add this here, frame of a CG rec, and we'll do X. All right, this one. Make sure you have with CG float, and then 0, 0, the width We could do like 8 and then height 0. Field auto capitalization type, we're gonna equal none because that's annoying when you're field autocorrect equal none or no, and we're gonna add a field dot mask to bounds or no corner radius equal 10. Field dot mask to bounds. There we go. Set this to true. We will also create a border width. This just creates a nice little border around the text field. We'll make the color of the border. So for this border color, we need to call UI color dot, and then we're gonna use secondary label, and then you need to pass the CG color. And the last thing we're missing is the background color. And for the background color, I went with system gray 6. You guys can play around with this. And we also want the return type field. Go to dot next. One thing we forgot is to set the translate auto resizing equal to false. One thing to note is we could copy and paste this here for our, because the next one is going to be let password. It's going to be a text field as well for the password. And we could copy and paste all this here, right? But I mean, there'll be a few changes like the placeholder and I think the return type key. But that's very repetitive, and we would be doing the same in the RegistrationViewController. So the best thing to do is I'm going to create a new group called custom, and in here, all right, so in here we're going to create a CocoaTouch class. It's going to be a UI text field, and we're going to call the text field custom onboarding text field. We'll just call it custom onboard text field, and this will be used in our login and our registration view controllers. If we would be using this all over our application, then we could probably name it differently. We could probably actually just call this Explore Onboard Text Field, and then the other ones would be, let's leave with Onboard, and then we'll do Explore Text Field. There we go. Yeah, I like the Explore Onboard Text Field. Okay, and in here we can delete these comments. In our custom text field, we're gonna have to create an initializer, and we're actually gonna want to pass in our own variables here. So the first one we're going to pass in is the placeholder that we're going to want for the text field. The other difference is, so for our text fields, in this view controller we have 2, and the registration will have 4. If the text field is the last, or the text field that goes on the bottom, which in this case would be the password text field, we want to show a different return key type than the other ones, because for the other ones we want to show next, so it'll go to the next one. But for the last text field, there is no next. You're basically done with the field. So we want to show go, and we can handle that here with is last text field in stack. And I wrote it like that because we're gonna put these text fields in a stack view. And this actually is a Boolean, sorry. And what else? And then we also want to know if it's a secure entry. So if it's like a password field, then we want to account for that. So we will have to placeholder, we'll make these required is last, and this basically makes it where these will be required anytime you create a custom text field in your project. And we'll copy this, and all right, so this makes it where all of these are required, and now we need to call super init, of course, and frame, you can just do .0, and what we want to do is we want to do placeholder equal placeholder. And we can do self.placeholder just so it knows, and then also is secure entry, is secure text entry. We'll set that it is secure entry. And the last one is, actually to make things less confusing, let's only use self for this one, and then for these, it'll already know what it's pointing to. All right, and then, so I had to change the, I didn't notice I was missing the capital H here. And we'll have the required initializer. And now we have to configure our text field, configure text field. And we'll create a function in here, private func, configure text field. And in here, we're just gonna bring in all the code from the previous. Let me delete these. So in the LoginViewController, let's bring in all of these and see which ones we're gonna keep. So we wanna keep this one. Placeholder is going away. Want to keep the left view auto capitalization. We're going to keep that. We'll keep this as well, this as well. All So now we need a if statement here. So if is last text field in stack, we want to do something else, do something else. So if it's the last text field, we want to pass go. If it's not, then we'll do next. And oh, we got to get rid of field. Do Command B. All right, this is all right. So this is no errors here. Now we have to implement this in our project here. We actually can do this, and the string will be, what will be the string now? So this is the email address. Is this the last one? False. And is it secure? Also false. We can get rid of this and explore. And this one is password. This is false. Oh wait, sorry. This is true. It's also true. So now we have these set up. Let's create our stack view. UI stack view. Oh, and for our stack view, you can actually use an anonymous closure. So stack view equals UI stack view, return stack view. And for stack view, dot translate auto resizing, we set that to false. Our stack view axis is gonna be dot vertical. It's gonna be vertical. We're gonna display the text fields vertically, right? And let's do a spacing of 10 and distribution fill equally. We'll see how all this looks for now. And yep. Now let's go into our view controller. Add the background color dot system background, and we'll create a function called configure UI, and this will be a private func configure UI. And in here, all right, so we'll add the stack view to the view, and then we just need to add this the text fields to the stack view. So add arrange subview, you do email first, and then we're gonna do password text field afterwards. Then we need to do some layout constraints. So dot activate, and it looks like we just have to do the stack view. So top anchor constraint equal to view dot top anchor. Let's do like let's do 100 for now. Stack view dot leading anchor constraint equal to view dot leading 24, and then let's change this to 12 and then minus 12. We'll see how that looks afterwards. And one more thing is the height. For the height, let's do 120. And if we ran this, we won't be able to see this, right? To do this quickly, or to see this quickly, let's just change this to the LoginViewController, just to see it very quickly. Oh, look, there we go. These came out nice, except they're shrunk. What happened? What happened to the width here? Let's see. So if you go to our LoginViewController, view.trailing minus, oh, I see. I had a little typo there. So it was making the stack very small. This should be trailing, not leading. This is trailing, this is leading, okay. And boom, now we have our keyboard set, or our text field set. Let's see, Command K to show your keyboard. You do next, go. We still haven't finished setting up the functionality for this, but we got the keyboard set up, and this is a custom keyboard, so we're gonna use this multiple times again. The only thing I want to do, let's make this smaller, because I feel like this text field is dramatically big. So we'll do 24, and we'll stop here for now. In the next one, we'll continue building out the LoginViewController, and we'll wrap that up. And so I'll see you guys there. Let's see this load. Make sure it looks nice. That's good. So I'll see you there. Peace. All right, let's continue wrapping this up. So for our LoginViewController, we actually need to add an image view. We'll call this login image view, and we'll use, of course, the anonymous closures, and this will be let image view equal UI image view, return image view. Image view dot translate auto resizing equal to false. And what do we want to add to our image view? So it's going to be very straightforward for our image view. We just want the image view dot content mode equal scale aspect fill. We'll do clips to bounds equal true, and image view dot image equal UI image, and we'll just use explore again. Okay, that's it for our image view. Now what else do we need? We need two more things. We need a label. So let's registration label, which this will be shown in case they aren't a registered user. They can click on this label and it'll direct them to the RegistrationViewController. So let label equal UI label, return label, label.translate auto resizing equal to false, label dot, we'll do the font for this label is, we'll do system font dot size 16 and then medium, and then we'll also do label dot text. We'll set this text equal not registered, sign up here, or we can do new user. That's probably friendlier, right? New user, register here. We'll just do sign up here. Okay, and then anything else? We're gonna need to add a gesture recognizer, but not yet. Let sign in, or we'll call this login button. Login button equals a UI button. All right, let button equal UI button. We will return button. The caps, they always get me. You return button. And what changes do we want to make here? So for this button, you want to always do translate auto resizing equal to false. You want to do button dot set title to login, and for dot normal, we're also going to want to set the background color equal system purple, and we'll do a little corner radius of 10. Anything else we want to add here? Oh, what is this? Oh, we don't have an equal. Alright, and we need to add a target to this. Let's lay out our UI and then we'll add our user interactions here. So to add these to the UI, we do view.add subview. We need to add the image view. We need to add the, what is it called? The registration label. And the login button. I'm gonna move this up here. I like to keep it in the order that it's shown. All right, so we have the stack view, the login button, the registration button here. And then now we need to add these to our layout. So login, image view. Let's just copy this since it's gonna be fairly similar. Saves us so much typing. So this was, for the top anchor, we'll actually set it to 0. And we need to change the stack view's top anchor to be the bottom anchor of our login image view. This as well will be 0. This will be 0. And the height will be like, let's do like 300 or 200. And then I'll copy this for the registration label. This will be below the stack view. And for the label, I actually want to center the X right to, I want to center it down the middle. And then we'll just attach a width here, or we'll just attach a height. So what's the font? 16. So we'll just do a height of 24. And we can copy this for the button, login button. One thing I forgot to change was this, the distance from the bottom anchor of the stack view. Let's do 24. Let's do 24 for the distance between the login button and the registration label. For the button, let's do 48. And for the height of 60. Let's run this and this should be working. Though the button won't have any functionality, but it should appear in the UI. The UI should appear. Oh, there we go. It looks good. The only thing I would want to do is make it a little bigger. 300. Yeah, make it like 300. And then, so let's have some gesture recognizers here. So let gesture equal UI tab gesture. Target is self. Action is selector. Registration. We'll just say did tab register label. And make this a lazy var again. And we'll have to make this one a lazy var as well. And we need to, and actually before we add the gesture, we need to make sure it's user interactable equal to true. Label.add gesture recognizer, add the gesture recognizer. And then for the button, we just want to add a target. Self, selector, did tab login, touch up inside, oh, torch. Shout out to PyTorch. Okay, now we need to create these two OBGC function. So at OBGC func, I'm gonna just copy and paste this, and copy this, paste it here. And we will print register. And in here we will print login. We'll run this. Let's try these out. Register, there we go. And login, there we go. And I don't like the spacing. There's way too much space in here. So let's try like 60. And we'll test that the next time we run this. Now we have our, I'm gonna just run it just to see the change I made. Looks really good. The LoginViewController is coming out really nicely. We're gonna stop here for now. And in the next one, we're going to set up the text field so that it, when we hit next, it takes us to this one. And we also want to set it up where when we hit login, it'll send the information to Firebase to authenticate the user. And we also want to set up the RegistrationViewController here. And yeah, we'll be doing all that in the next one. I'll see y'all there. Peace. All right, to continue working on our text field, we're gonna have to, let's create some space here. We're gonna have to register or have the text field delegate equal to self, and also for the password delegate equal to self. And we will create an extension to conform to the UI text field delegates, Command B, and it'll tell us if we need to bring it any, wait, hit Command B again, that should go away. Oh, I brought in the text view, not the text field. No wonder we were getting an error. All right, this should build now with no errors, succeeded. All right, and the function we care about in here is text field should return. What we want to do is if text field equals, so if we're in our email text field, we want password text field to become first responder. Else, if this happens, for here we could just do else. If this happens, then it means we're working with the password. But actually, just to be 100% certain, we would do else if with the password text field. And if we hit the return key on the password text field, we want to resign first responder. And we want to call the function didTabLogin. And you hit Command B. Oh, and then we could just do return true. Okay. All right, and that's it for our text field. We can actually run this and see if it's working. And that means when we hit go, we should see login printed. All right, so here's our app. We're gonna go to our text field. If it doesn't show up when you click on it, hit Command K. Then we hit next. Then if we hit go, it resigns and login. So it's working. That's pretty neat. Now let's try to get our didTabLogin function stamped out. So when we tap login, we want to make sure our email text field, resign, and our password field. This is just to be extra certain that there will be no text field showed to the user. And we're gonna guardlet the email. We're gonna grab the text from the text field. So to grab it from the email text field, we just call text let password, and we're using guardlet because the text in the text field is optional since it might be nil. And we can actually add some conditionals here. So we can add that email.count is greater than, I want to say 5, because for an email you need at least 5 characters. And I'm sure there's a better way to account for this, but we're just going to use the count. And then for password.count, we're going to say greater than or equal to 8. Else, we're going to return. And now we can call our AuthService. We actually need to, looks like we need to create one in here. So AuthService. Actually, one thing we could do is for our AuthService, we can create this as a singleton. So we'll let shared equal AuthService. We'll do static let. And then we can make the initializer private. That makes this a true singleton. And if we go back to our LoginViewController, we can call authService.shared.login with email, password, result. We can switch on the result. So for now, we'll just print yay. And then we can print no. And then we'll actually also print the failure.localized response. You want to clean this up before, but just for now, we're going to put this here and I'm going to close this. Good to go. We're not going to test this right now because I actually want to wait until we implement our LoginViewController into our application for us to test this. So we're going to have to wait a second and what we could do is we can comment this out really quickly. Command / and print made it here. And that means we would have made it here and we would have tried to log in. I don't want to log in now because then we won't be able to sign out, and I'd rather test it once we have it fully functionally implemented into our app. All right, so let's do Jason at Gmail. Shout out to whoever has that Gmail account. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Login. Oh, made it here. Hey, we would have been able to log in. All right, I'm gonna do Command Z, uncomment this out, and oh, well, if you guys want, you can do like a print here. Let's get the functionality for this RegistrationViewController. So we're just gonna create it. We're not gonna actually stamp it out yet. UIViewController. We'll call this RegistrationViewController. Next, hit create. Get rid of this. Let's put a background color so when we test it, let's make this orange since I'm wearing orange. So and what do we want to do? So when we actually do this, we just want to do registration equal registration. We're just going to want to present the view controller, so we'll call present and RegistrationVC true. We run this. All right, so we click on, oh, there we go. It shows up modally, I believe, yeah, modally. And here we'll show our RegistrationViewController. If we try to hit login, nothing should happen, which is not good UI or UX. All right, so that's it for this one. In the next one, we're actually going to create a little activity alert that pops up when someone hits login and they don't have the correct requirements. I'll see you guys there. Peace. All right, so let's handle when there's an error with the email or the password. So we'll actually, let's create 2 guardlets. One just for the email and one for the password. And we'll pass return here. And what we want to do is we'll create a function, a private func present text field error alert. All right, and we're gonna pass some strings in here, but first let's just create an alert. So alert equal UI alert controller title invalid text field message please enter. All right, so for text field, and we're just passing the string. So if text field equals email, or else if text field equals password. We're going to display a little bit different results. So for the email, please enter a valid email address, preferred style alert. And then after you create the alert, you want to add the alert, you want to add an action, and let's create the action above here. Let action equal UI alert action title. Okay, we'll make this destructive action, and then we can just present the alert animated equals true, and we'll copy this, post it here or paste it here. Invalid email, we'll call this invalid email address, and then invalid password. Please make sure password is at least 8 characters. Please make sure password is at least 8 characters. Oh, this needs to be equals. Sorry. And what else? Looks like we're good here. Let's call this here. So present text field error for email, present text field error for password. Run this and let's see what happens. We're about to find out. It loaded up. Let's try to, so this is not a valid email. Login, invalid email address. Please enter a valid email address. All right, we can lowercase email address. Looks a little wanky or wonky. And we can do default here. The red is kind of in your face. And I want to note, this isn't a legit email check. You can implement a different check that actually checks if it's a valid email address, which includes which would include the @ the domain.com. And let's say I have an actual email address. 1, 2, 3. Invalid password. Please make sure password is at least 8 characters. 8 characters long. I don't like the period. And all right, now we handled that, and we're still not gonna try to log in. Well, we never even created an account to be able to log in. So this isn't really gonna do much. Although if you had an actual account and then you logged in here, the user session would persist until you signed out. All right, so that's it for the LoginViewController. There's nothing else I really want to add here. So looks like we're good to go. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna do the registration controller, and then we're gonna implement both of these. We're gonna finish the registration controller, and then we're gonna implement this onboarding into our application. All right, so I'll see you guys there. Peace. All right, y'all, welcome back. We're here with the registration view controller, and it's gonna be fairly similar to the login view controller. Like, we're gonna have a stack view, UI stack view, and to make things easier, we might as well just copy this, because I think it's we might just change the spacing, but it's gonna be fairly similar. And actually, yeah, this is all similar. And then we're gonna have 4 text fields. So the first one we want to show them. What should we show them first? Let's show them the username text field. And we don't even need an anonymous closure thanks to our custom explore text field. And this will be username. Is this last field? False, false. What's next? We'll do full name. Text field, explore onboard, full name, false, false. Let email address, or just say email text field, sorry. Go explore. We can just bring in these, save us some typing. And one thing I'd want to notice or note here is, if you guys notice, our password text field is always the last one. So something we could actually do is in our custom text field, we can get rid of this. It's secure entry, and we'll just set it to is last text field. So we just have to make sure, and you would know this based on how you're implementing this custom text field in your project. But since this is only for the onboard section, in our onboard we only have the login and the registration, and the last text field will always be the password. So for our situation, it'll work. And if we do Command B, we'll get a bunch of errors because we don't need this anymore. And that's great. And it kind of makes sense, right? Because whenever you have a password text field, it's at the bottom. Like, you never see a text field underneath the password text field. Just food for thought. All right, Command B, should get no errors. And the last thing we're missing is some labels. And we can copy these over. And maybe you want to make custom labels, but this is a very small returning user. Do login here. Did tap login label. Did tap sign up button. I think you capitalize the U because sign up is 2 words, I believe. This will be sign up. Maybe you want to register. It's up to you. It's preference. And now we need to create these 2 functions. And these are OBGC funcs. Did tap login label. One thing I want to know, we can make these private so you can't access them anywhere else. Sign up. And we can do the same in our private. Okay. Did tap login label. That's why you copy and paste, right? Because those spelling errors. All right, Command B should be good to go. And for this, when we tap login, I'm not even going to put a print here because we can just dismiss, set this equal to true. And for now, we'll print sign up. And we need to lay out our UI now. Configure UI, and we have to create a function, private func, configure UI. And something we could do here is just copy these. And it's a little cheat code, saves you a lot of writing the code. All you have to do now is just be careful. So you see we don't have an image view anymore, so we can get rid of this. And we have username and full name text field that we need to worry about. So stack view.array, add arrange, username text field, password text field. Oh no, wait. What was it? Full name text field. Command B, we're not conforming to delegates here. We'll do that in a second. So we didn't even change the name. This is actually called the login label. So login label, sign up button. We can get rid of this. This then becomes the view. Command B. Oh, these should return errors. And then, this is the only tedious part, right, of copy and paste and all that. But it saves you a lot of typing. Quite a lot of typing. Copy, paste, paste. It says sign up button. Paste, paste. Change this here. Command B to see if we have any errors. And then we're going to create an extension. RegistrationViewController, conform to UI text field delegates. All right, and let's run this and let's see if we messed up by copy and pasting. Oh, sorry, my camera went out. Apologies. I'm not focused on looking at the view. Whoa, and it looks like it's not showing up. Interesting. This is why you don't copy and paste, guys. All right, let's debug here. So I'm calling the configure function. We're adding all of these to the sub view. So bottom, wait, oh, that's why. The stack view was, it's on, that's funny. The stack view was probably way over here off screen because it was 60 below the bottom anchor. Oh, and I need to make this bigger. So we had 120, so let's do 240 because we had 120 for 2. So 240 for 4. See how that looks? Sign up. Not bad. I'm gonna do 280, but I think 280 might be too much. Maybe 260. Yeah, let's do 260. Yeah, but I like it though. Look, and return. Yep, it dismisses it. Returning user, log in here, sign up here, and if we hit sign up, sign up. Haha. We'll change this to 260, and there we go. We have a registration. We have a registration set up. The next one, we're gonna set up this did tab sign up function and also work on getting the text field delegate set up. But we're pretty much almost there with the onboarding. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. All right, welcome back. So we're still working on the registration view controller, and now we want to mimic what we're doing here with the text fields. We can actually just copy this function here, and we can copy this, make this an else, get rid of this. So our first text field is going to be full name text field. If we hit next on that, the following one is a username text field, right? Oh, looks like I got this backward. It's username first, and then it's full name, and then so this will be full name. After full name, we have the email text field, then you get the password. Password's the last one. You want to call did tab sign up. So let's run this here and see what we get. We'll hit the new user, sign up here. Let's do Jason, full name Jason at Gmail. Password 1234567 8. Let's hit sign up, and we should just see sign up printed here. Yep. Okay. Now it's time to implement our did tab sign up function. And here we want to make sure all text fields resign first responder. If for some reason or another they become a responder. What is the password? Resign first responder. Resign first responder. Well, let me see something. Yeah, it's secure entry. Then we're gonna have something similar like we had last time. We're gonna garlet the full name dot text. We're not gonna worry about the count of the full name and the username. We will do it for the email. Actually, for the username, we probably should too. We'll do 3, and for the email dot count greater than 5, and then let password text password dot count greater than equal. We'll just say greater than 7, which is the same as greater than equal to the 8. We'll return if this happens, and then we will call our AuthService shared. Since it's a singleton, we can do this. And we'll just pass in our email, our password, the full name, the username. The completion will give us a result. We switch on the result. Print, we're in. No. All right. And it looks like we're good to go. Actually, I don't want to register them. But we can comment this out, and let's print something. By the way, I highlighted all of them and did command /. We're here. I'm missing the apostrophe, but don't worry about that. So it loaded up. We'll go to username, Jason. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna hit sign up, and yeah, we make it here. So if I had uncommented this, we would have made this, and more likely than not, our user would be registered. And I'm not gonna run this right now because I want to implement it in the app again before we test it. That way we can sign out once it works and all that. And we're gonna be doing that in the next section. So I'll see you guys there. Peace. Now that we have our onboarding set up, we are gonna have to figure out how we want to integrate this to our project. And if you remember our scene delegate here, we had the primary bar view controller before. And at the beginning of this course, we mentioned how we were gonna have a secondary bar view controller. where we would show if the user was logged in or wasn't logged in, sorry. So let's minimize these and create a new file. Google Touch class of type UITabBarController. And we'll call this secondary bar view controller. And we can copy the contents in here. It's going to be fairly similar. The only difference is instead of a favorites view controller, we will have a login view controller here. And instead of a heart, we got to change this to login. Instead of a heart, we'll have a profile. No, I don't think it's profile. I think it's person. Yeah. Sorry. Person. So we'll have a person here. Login. And let's launch the scene delegate with the secondary bar, just to make sure this is working. So we're gonna run this. All right, so we have the login view controller. And I think we can hide the login. So under, where's the secondary view? What we could do is we could do it like we did here. We'll just do tab bar item dot title equals login. Run this. And there we go. We see the login view controller and it's working. All right, so now in our project, we're gonna have to handle the transition from primary bar view controller to secondary bar view controller, depending on if we have a signed in user or not. And the way we're going to do that is in our scene delegate. We're going to create a function here, and this is going to be called change root view controller. And in this function, we're going to pass in a view controller, and in here we're going to handle the transition and the change. So first we want to garlet the window. All right, and then from here, what do we want to do? So we want to set the root view, the new root view controller, which is going to be the new VC that we get passed into this function. And then we want to create a little transition. This will be transition, hit option, and then enter. And we'll do the view will be window, duration, ½ second. And this one we'll do transition, flip from left. The animations can be nil. The completion can be nil. Command B, should get no errors here. And now we're going to go into our login view controller. And when we have a login success, we're going to want to trigger the transition. And to trigger the transition, what we need to do is we need to use parentheses, call UI application, shared, connected scenes first, delegate as scene delegate. And this will give us access to this change root view controller function. So we'll have to create so when we're logging in, that means we were on the secondary view controller. So now we have to create a reference to the primary view controller. And we'll pass that in here. Command B. Another transition will be in our profile view controller when we sign out. So let's actually handle the sign out here as well. Let's set up the sign up. So it's authService.shared.signout. And if we go to our auth service, I kind of changed the implementation here of the sign out method. Let's make this capital O. I made this function throw, so all you have to do is call a try and not a do catch block. And that means we need to create a do catch block here, right? And for this one, we'll just print unable to sign out. And now I'm gonna paste this little chunk that I have here. And when we're signing out, that means we're in the primary VC and we need to transition to the secondary VC. So that's what we're gonna do here. Secondary bar view controller. Oh, looks like I forgot a D, secondary. Command B is see if we have any errors. Oh, this O needs to be capitalized. And I need a try in here. All right, and to use some of the code we just made, let's copy this alert and we'll show an alert. And then right here, we'll just say, please try again. Okay, default action. And there's only one more transition, but actually no, because we could add a transition in our into our, what do you call it? RegistrationViewController. But what we could do is we could just say self.dismiss. And you might wanna let the user know that they that the registration was successful, right? Because this just dismissing it kind of leaves them like, what happened? So let's show them an alert. All right, so we'll dismiss and we'll pass in an alert. Successfully registered. Please log in. Although actually, let me Command Z, because if you go to our register function, jump, when this, what do we get here? So when you register a user, it'll automatically sign them in. So we do actually want to. It looks like for our registration view controller, we are going to need a transition similar to this one. So I'm going to copy this. We can remove this print statement here. Remove this print. Now let's run this. And I think it's going to start off with the secondary. Oh, it is right. So, all right. One thing I'm going to do as well is I'm going to go to our authentication page here. Oh, looks like they changed the Firebase UI. Wow, that's surprising. And I have no users, as you see here on this project. We have no users. So, is this running? Yeah. So we go to login. We don't have any users, so we're going to hit register. I'm going to register myself. Actually, let's register Rocky. Shout out to Rocky, if you know who Rocky is. It's my dog. No, like my actual dog. Man's best friend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to do that again. Let's hit sign up. Oh, we got an error. Oh, but it did sign up though. So what was the error? Let's go to our registration view controller. So we got nil. Where did we get nil from? So let's go to our register. Let's jump to this function. Did it fail to store the user into our database? I think that was the error. So we ran into some issue here. Actually, I think this is supposed to be equal nil. That means we need to delete this. Let's delete this account. All right, and let's get a fresh restart on the app. Our app loaded up. Let's try to register now. And let's hit refresh in our auth. All right, Rocky at gmail.com, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, sign up. We're in. And did you guys see that transition? Replay on the transition. It was a nice transition. And now actually we don't even need to replay. I think if we hit sign out here, and again our profile is not configured, boom, and now we can log in. Let's try to log in here. Our email is rocky at gmail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Log in. No. Oh, I think we have the same error. So if we run this, and actually I think we're gonna get an error because we technically did log in because our result was correct. We just passed in a fail completion. Let's see if this allows us to log in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it does. Oh yeah, we get the email here. We should print the user.email for this. All right, this is great. So we got some functionality going. So that's it for this video. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. We're gonna keep working on this. I'll see y'all there. Keep coding. Y'all doing good. See y'all next time. Peace. So continuing along, one thing I want to know before we get into some coding is we didn't review, but if you look at our database, this was sent and posted to our database. It's in our users collection. You see it's a document with the UID of the user. And we have the email, the full name, and the username. So yeah, I just wanted to show that. Back in our Xcode project, I want to have the ability to pass in the current user. Well, I actually want to pass it into our FavoritesViewController. And in order to do all of this, we're going to pass it into primary bar view controller. And from here, it'll be passed into the FavoritesViewController. And in order to do this, we'll call the initializer. And we'll call this current user. This will be a type user. Do we have a type user? Oh, we don't even have a type user. So we need to create a file. And this will be called user. Instruct user. And what do we want for these? So the user has a full name, type string, username, type string, and it has an email address of type string. Okay, so we'll create a var called current user of type user as well, and then we'll make this we'll put a parentheses to make sure that we have to have it, and we will because it's going to be passed into our initializer. Current user equals current user, and call super init, of course. Otherwise, this will not run, or I think it'll crash. Hit Command B. Oh, need to pass in the required initializer, and we're good to go. And now we can copy and paste this into our favorites, and we'll do that here. So now we'll have a current user into our favorites, and we can do the same to our profile view controller. And in here, we can actually set the username label. We'll call self, and this will be the text for the label equal to current user dot username. Let's change this to Ad Explorer just to be more generic. All right, and if we Command B, I believe we'll get a bunch of errors because we haven't updated all the places where we're calling some of the view controllers is missing a parameter. So yeah, right here, it's going to be missing a current user, and we'll call just current user, which we have up here. Where else do we have an error? Right here, what we call the profile view controller, and we have access to a current user in here as well. So current user, Command B. And in here, we can create a current user from the full name, from the username, and from the email. And one thing, this has to be user.lowercase. And now we'll pass in current user, Command B. We should have one more. All right, now in our LoginViewController, we have this error as well. And this one's trickier because we do not have the username for this profile. So that creates a little dilemma for us, right? All we have is the email address, really. And if, yeah, we don't have we can put current user here. Although we don't have a full name or a username. A way I thought of handling this was in our auth service. Well, in our database service. Since this user is already going to be in our database, we can say load user info from login. And in here, we'll pass in an email, and what we'll return is 2 strings. So it'll be a tuple, and we'll pass in the username first, and then or should we do full name first? What do you guys think? Since in the registration we had the username first, we'll do that. But this is up to you, personal preference. And I believe we'll need a completion here because we're going to be making a network call. So at escaping, so we return a tuple and an error. Actually, we can just return a tuple and we'll do void. Okay, Command B. Separator. Let's see what's missing. Oh, it looks like a parenthesis. Okay, build failed. Yep, we're not there yet. So we'll go back to our database service. One thing I want to note here is we'll actually pass in the UID of the user. And we're going to call our database collection users dot get documents. Document. And we'll pass in our UID. And let's try to get our data. So get document snapshot. Error. We'll do a guardlet. Snapshot equals snapshot, and then error equals nil, not the other way around. Make this an optional tuple to make our lives easier. So then we can do completion, pass a nil in here, Command B. Okay, and now we should have our let data equals snapshot dot data, and then we should get we should be able to get our, what do we need? We need a full name. We need username. This will be data username as string. I believe we need to cast this, and then we can do. We'll create an if let username as string. If let full name equals data. Same thing as string. So if these execute, we can just pass these into the completion. So the tuple will be username and full name. If we get here, we'll just pass in nil. We'll do an else. All right, this is optional. Oh, we can just pass this along with the let, or the if let. All right, and Command B. Oh, missing a let here. Why are we failing? Oh, sorry about that. Oh, there we go. Command B, so many parentheses. And now we can call this function to load our username and full name. Let's go back to our login function, and for the result we can actually pass in a string, and the string we want to pass in is going to be user.uid. Oh, Sorry, wrong function. So in our login function here, instead of a boolean, let's pass in a string. And on success, we're gonna pass in the user.uid command B here. And then if we go back to our LoginViewController, when we have success, we'll let UID equal success. Well, we can just call this UID. And then we'll call our, do we have a reference to the database here? We're gonna have to create a reference to the database, which I don't really want to do, but we'll do it for now. Let database equal database service, and we'll call this database service. And we'll need to pass in weak self, and we can guard let strong self equals self. Else we return strong self dot database service dot load, pass in the UID, and in here we'll get a tuple, and this tuple will be, it's an optional tuple, so we'll call this data, and then we'll guard let data equal data, else return for now, and we'll let our current user or full name equal, we'll create a var here called full name and username. By default these will be at explore. Full name equals data.1, username is first, and we will say, we might get some racing conditions here actually, because this is gonna take a second to load. So I think we're gonna want to remove this and put this, yeah, we're gonna want to remove this from here. All right, so it's tricky finding out where do we want to put our this function that's gonna return us the username and full name, and the best way I thought of it is returning it here in our login. So once we successfully log in, we are going to make a request to our data service, and it's going to be similar like we did in our register function. So we're going to call weak self, and we're going to have to guard let strong self. So we can do that in here, guard let strong self equals self, and strong self database service. The UID will be user.uid completion. We'll call this a tuple, and we'll guard let tuple equal tuple else. And one thing I noticed, this doesn't have to be optional actually, since we're using the result type. Else return, we can just do return completion, and we can create a new error, auth error, unable to load login user data, and we'll go back to our auth service. So on success, what do we want to do? Actually, we're not even going to use this success anymore here. On this success, we'll do completion success, and this will be the tuple. So let's create the tuple, and this will be tuple.0, tuple.1. Command B. All right, now if we go back to our LoginViewController, this should be a tuple, and we should be able to get the username. Let username equal tuple.0, and now we pass the full name, the username, command B. This might be ready to test out. Let's see if we get any errors. We don't. Let's close all these, and let's see our login. Yeah, we are login is set, and then our primary. Oof. Let's run this. Well, actually, nope, not yet. One last thing we need to do. So let's import Firebase auth, and if current, so if auth.auth.current user, so if someone signed in, we'll show the primary one, else show the secondary one. The only issue is we're not gonna have, I don't believe we're gonna have access to any of this information. Command B, which is fine. All right, we're gonna handle this in the next video. For now, let's actually just, I'm gonna copy this line, and I'm gonna comment all this out for now. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna copy the line I copied, and then I'm gonna run this. And now we should still be able to seamlessly sign in and sign out, all that good stuff. Let's sign in with Rocky at gmail.com, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Log in, do the flip. That's always nice to see. We go to there. I showing Rocky, although we should show the @ symbol, to be honest. Let's go. Where's the profile view controller? It should be in onboarding. No, it should be in our favorites. Where is it? Let's see what we're missing. Let's do some string interpolation. Oh, and add that symbol here. But in the meantime, let's see if we break anything. Let's sign out. Okay, and let's try to sign back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hit enter. All right, everything's running well. Hey, I'm gonna just run this really quickly and make sure this change is implemented. All right, so it's building. All right, let's try this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Log in. Oh, I think I did the wrong password. 1, 2. There we go. Favorites@Rocky. And one semi-error that still happens in this app is if you see here, like, we're always going to be pointed to the SecondaryTabBarController even if our session is still active. Like if I just close the app and then open it again without logging out, I should still be logged in, but our application won't account for that because we're only going to show this view controller. In the next video, we'll go over how we can use something like this to actually account for if our session is still active. So I'll see you guys there. Y'all have a good one. Peace. So now we're working on figuring out how we want to persist our session. Firebase will automatically handle it for us, but we want to be able to persist the user information. And the best way I found for that is if we go into our auth service. Where is our auth services? We go to services, we go to auth service. We'll call this function persist user info. And we can persist the full name of the user, their username, their email address, and we might as well persist their UID because it's going to be available to us. So to do this, all we really need to do is we're going to use UserDefaults, which is a great way to persist very small amounts of information like a string. This is perfect for that. So we just call UserDefaults.standard.set, and then we set the value is going to be full name and then full name. And we're going to do this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing for the username, same thing for the email, same thing for the UID. Make sure we change the key. All right. Now this function will save this user information into our user defaults, and what we can do is when we sign in, so right here when we have this success, we can call this function dot persist users info, and the username or the full name is the tuple.1, the username is tuple.0, the email address is email, the UID is user.uid. Okay, so one neat thing we can do too is we can have this function return us a user, and this will save us a lot of time. So we can just pass in the full name, the username, the email, and instead of passing this tuple, we can just pass in a user and then let user equal this, or actually we'll call this current user. I don't think we have that name. I don't think we've used that. Have we used it? Nope, it's not being used, so we'll call current user and we'll pass that in the success case. Command B, and we can do the same for this. So we can just pass in a user. So on success, we'll do something like this. So we can just copy this, go back to success, get rid of this completion, and instead of the tuple or the tuple, what do you guys say? We will just pass in the current user and the username is given to us. Command B. All right. Now we need to go back to where we're calling the user and the login functions. So we no longer need this. We can just call this current user, Command B, and we'll probably get an error for the registration controller. So on success, this is current user. We can get rid of this. And one thing I want to note is, let's go back to our auth service. We need to make sure we lowercase the user, the username. Alright, and here we might as well pass in the user as well, because I believe we're going to have all the information to do this. So Command B, let's do an optional Command B. So we're gonna let current user equal user. Full name is full name, username, and it looks like we need to grab the email. So let's format this. Oh, all right. So let email equal data email. This will be passed in as a string. Correct our format in here. Command B, see if we have any errors. Oh, we need to pass email here. And Command B, data as string. Let's see, user. So now we don't even need to, let's see. So this is going to be an optional user. So if user equals user, we'll call this current user. If current user equals current user, then we can get rid of this line. Saves us some hassle. And oh, one thing we need to do though is we still need to persist the login. So we can call this though. We just won't do anything with what's returned. So we'll do current user dot full name, current user dot username, current user dot email, UID is user dot UID. And you might want to create a UID for the user. We're not gonna do that for now. Command B. All right, let's try to run this and see if we broke anything. I'm not gonna try to log in or anything yet because there's still a few things I want to do. We actually need to go back to the scene delegate, and I'm gonna close all of these. All right, so our app is still running, and I realized we could do something similar that we did in our load user info login function in our store first time user into database function, where we just return a user, but it's not necessary. So back to our scene delegate where we want to actually persist our Firebase auth session if we have one. And the best way I found to do that is you create an optional current user to be a type user equal. We'll use an anonymous closure, and we'll do if let UID or if let full name equals user defaults dot standard dot string for key, full name, if let username equals, we can just copy this, no need to repeat ourselves, username. The last one is don't you hate when you your fingers do some weird stuff on the keyboard. All right, email. Okay, email. So if these exist, well, not if these exist, but these if these exist, then there should be a user session, and we haven't gone through the process where we're gonna know this out in our sign-in function. We'll do that after this. So if this exists, we'll say user equals, we're gonna create a user from this information, full name, username, email, and we'll return the user. Else, you can just return nil. So if this fails, we'll return nil. I think if you don't return, wait, I think you'll get an error though if you, it's expecting something. So return nil if this fails. So Command B. All right, this was success, and now we can uncomment this. And what we can do is, so we can create so if current user equals current user, which refers to our current user we just created up here. So this is not nil, and if this is not nil, we'll say is if let not equal to nil, Command B, then we'll pass the current user here. And we'll do it, we're doing both of these because if the Firebase auth session is not valid, then we don't want to sign in anyone. So we'll show the secondary bar view controller. So if one of these is missing or nil, then we don't want to show the favorites view controller or the primary bar view controller. So that's why we're doing it like this. And then one thing we need to add is, this actually is going to be in our profile view controller section, is when we successfully sign out. So that'll be right here. So let's actually do this in our auth service instead. It makes more sense since we're persisting it there. So, and let's make this private. We'll create another private function called reset persisted user info And this will be a function, and in here we can just copy this, paste it here. We'll set these to nil. Copy, paste, paste, paste. We'll call reset persisted info. And this basically will nil out all these values when we sign out. That way, if there isn't an active user session, it'll remove it all from the device. And there's no information, no sensitive information stored on the device. Let's actually try to run this. Okay. All right, and I believe we should still have the Rocky. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're gonna log in. And we're logged in, Rocky. Let's close it, or let's stop the app. I'm gonna exit out the simulator. And let's run this. And when it loads up, it should go into our favorites. Or it should show the favorites instead of the login. It looks like we're getting shown the login page. Let me see, at rocky.gmail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when we log in, this information should be persisted. Let's log in. Favorites. Stop running. Let's close the app and open it again. Oh, that's very funny. I didn't notice I had this here, and this was causing the issue where it wasn't showing the right view controller, even though we have the user defaults and we have a user signed in. But now if we load the app with the user defaults and a user signed in, we get the favorites. Yeah, we get Rocky, even though I didn't even sign in this time. Here, like, I'll run it one more time. I'm gonna stop it, run this. See, we still have a logged in user. Now if I sign out and if I close the app, oh, let's actually do something. Let's print current user, and let's print off.currentUser. That way we can visualize what's going on. Let's run this, and you see these are both nil, which is very good because that means when I logged in from the previous session, it didn't save that info in the user defaults. So that's really good. And now our app is almost set. Like, we have our whole onboarding login functionality set. We just have to work on a few more things in our view controllers, and we'll be doing that in the next section. I'll see y'all there. Peace.